Delayed reaction, I guess.
Live council.
You're live now.
Okay. We'll now call this estimates committee meeting to order. Roll has been taken. Okay. Are there any members of the committee that have any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. We'll now commence with item 3.1, continuation of the capital budget worksheet. As the procedural motion was carried on Monday to identify separated items at the beginning of the process, we've received some in advance of the meeting. I'll please ask members to raise their hands and identify any projects they would like separated from the entire worksheet. And if it makes things easier, I can read out the ones that are already separated. So we have, okay, they're all 7D. So I'll just read the numbers. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 29, 30, 102, 115, 116. Sorry, skipped to the wrong column. 38, 49, 50, 52, 55, 56, 57, 58, 66, 68, 71, 72. Quite a list.
You're going too fast to keep track of it.
Okay, I'll slow down a little bit. 78, 80, 81, 83, 85, 87, 88, 95, 98, 100, 102, 107, 111, 113, 119, 122, 123, 124, 126, 131, and 148.
Perhaps you could tell us what wasn't separated.
Yeah.
Counselor Hunt, her camera's on, but she.
Oh.
Her hands up.
Counselor Hunt, can you turn your camera on? Whoops, what happened there? I lost it.
Oh, you walked out.
Uh-oh, we have a technical issue. Go ahead, Counselor Hunt.
Technical issue, so I am looking, I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you say 72, which is project 142, and you may have said it and I apologize.
72 is on the list. If I missed it, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you for confirming.
Mayor Davis, go ahead.
116, 129, 138. Do you need me to go slower than that?
Was it the last one?
138.
116 was already separated. Did you say 129?
16.
Yes.
And what was the last one?
138.
No, Grace, there's too many references on them.
Okay, 116 or 115?
116. 129 on the next page. And 138, the last one on that page.
Line 11.
Any others? Okay, seeing no hands on the screen or in the chambers, we will move on. Okay, step 7, we will now commence with the worksheet. Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder to get report 2023-6, item 7A on the floor for discussion? Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Sluss. This one Indy's doing a presentation.
No. Just any discussion.
Any discussion on 7A? Mayor Davis. You're muted.
There was another one I wanted separated. Sorry,
Okay,
it was 50.
Sorry, sorry.
50 is separated. Full corridor reconstruction, Coburn and Dalhousie.
Yep, okay.
That's good. So what are we voting on? Ones that weren't separated?
Pardon me?
What are we voting on? Ones that weren't separated?
No, we'll just move on just in case they end up thinking of something later. This is the report, the impacts report, environmental impacts report, item 7A in the worksheet. So if you just
Okay.
flip over, the report.
Okay. So this is to receive the report on environmental impacts. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll call the vote.
Just a reminder that you do need to be into the January 28th estimates committee meeting. I am seeing that 2 are not coming in. It might just be a technical glitch. I'm thinking I'm not sure. Councillor Hunt, yours hasn't come through just as I see you in the meeting though.
I did vote yes.
Yes, thank
on
you.
Scribe, so it must not have.
Thanks.
come
I'm not sure what's going on. We'll have to look into the iPads themselves.
through.
Step 7A carries unanimously on a recorded vote. Those in favor, Mayor Davis, Councillor Secoli, Sullivan, Caputo, Sless, Martin, Hunt, Carpenter, and Samwell.
Okay, step 7B provides a summary of the Public Works 2023 capital budget. Individual projects are identified in 7D, which we just went through the list and separated. So now I'll ask Inderjit Hands, General Manager Public Works, to commence your presentation with respect to the 2023 Public Works capital budget.
Thank you, Chair Martin. Just waiting for it to come out up on screen. Great. Okay, good evening, Chair Martin, Mayor Davis, members of the committee. Inderjit Hands, General Manager of Public Works. I'm pleased to present some of the highlights from the 2023 Public Works budget. First and foremost, I'd like to thank CEO Hutchings and Treasurer Joelle Daniels and the finance team, as well as the PW leadership team, and Michael Abrams, the manager of infrastructure planning, for their work in preparing this document. Next slide. So when developing the budget, there are some principles that we utilize in terms of guiding the internal workshops. In addition to our asset management planning, we focused on the state of good repair projects while also preparing for growth. So if we look at our overall budget, you can see that the non-growth related projects are about 60% of that total budget, whereas growth is about 40%. So we do have that focus on the state of good repair. We're repairing and maintaining recreational spaces, trails, our facilities, our parks. There's a lot of funding towards the trail safety and improvements and whatnot, as well as facilities like our rec centers throughout the budget. Ensuring residents move safely on roads, sidewalks, bike lanes, that helped guide some of the discussions in terms of our workshops. keeping our drinking water safe, and make sure that it's kept to the highest standards and the quality for the residents. And finally, moving residents, I should say, on reliable fleet vehicles, including our transit, our conventional, specialized, as well as our staff on our fleet vehicles. Very important, while remembering our green responsibility. Next slide, please. So although the budget is extensive, nearly 150 projects out today, I did pull a few projects that are some highlights for 2023. So we have the Southwest Community Center and Park, phase 2 and 3, moving along very, very well. Aggressive timelines, looking for that to be open in the school open, targeted 2025 in September. We're moving forward design in the park, hoping for both those to come online in the very near future. Provide Southwest Brent some space for recreation as well as learning. The police services headquarters development, council is very aware of this project. Last year was great work done by the task force. There was kind of a up and down with the budgets, but staff have worked well with the task force to bring that budget down. And you do see the final number there for us to deliver a police service that's at a level that this community requires, so that they can provide that service in a space that's appropriate. The transit optimization study, we heard council loud and clear when a couple of the transit reports did come forward last year, as well as we had a staffing issue in the summer. So we really had to look at our transit with a different lens and definitely look at our routing that hasn't changed in many, many years. So we're excited to bring the optimization study that's going to look at pretty much redefine how transit is in the city of Brantford and for the residents and the users. Other projects of note are MP Center Pump Station for growth, downtown revitalization. Downtown is very key. Again, a project that requires a lot of stakeholder engagement, and we noted that in our deliberations for the EA that we do need a focus on that stakeholder engagement, the BI and other stakeholders in downtown, and we'll be certain that we do that. The lawn bowling relocation for at the Walter Gretzky Golf Center is very important. We're looking to place that right now preliminary on the north side of that parking lot. There is a project for the maintenance garage as well. Initially, we were looking at swapping those locations, but right now what works with the infrastructure that's available is to maintain the facility where it's at, and then and place the lawn bowling on the north side of that parking lot, which will provide some space unique just to the users, as well as trail maintenance, safety improvements, and repairs throughout. Very exciting for making our trails top notch for this community. Next slide, please. So the city has been successful in many grant applications, and since developing the office within Public Works Administration, we've successfully applied for and received $5 million in grants. In 22 and 21, we received approximately 1.5 million. This doesn't include funds that were allocated to Brantford and in regards to, say, ISIP and other types of grants. So over the 2 years, we've managed to have been successful in $6.5 million in grants. In 23, we're hoping to keep that trend going. You can see there's some of the notable projects in 22 and some of the projects that we have pending for 23. I won't dwell on those too much. What I will say is some of the trends we're seeing in terms of grants that are being released are in our disaster mitigation, specifically for floods and climate change, COVID-19 resiliency to build our outdoor spaces and get residents out and using our trails, as well as net zero and GHG buildings. Now this, we've really been going and keeping our minds, if you look at our watching for funding opportunities, we've been looking for opportunities for the police builds, for Southwest, for our vehicles in terms of our EV vehicles and our buses. And there's a lot that is coming out, and we're seeing the trends there as well. So we'll continue to look for, keep our eye out for grants that'll help build the budget, but also send some money back to reserves and where we can reuse them in other locations. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to touch a little bit on some of the challenges when developing the budget, including some of the market materials and delivery times impacting our capital and operations. So we're seeing a large wait time for our vehicles, concrete, as well as just the pricing in general. Marketing and our project pricing has increased quite a bit. In fact, approximately about 35 out of the 150 projects, almost a quarter of the projects today coming forward for budget asks are affected by the markets. They're in the field right now. We're working on them, but we need more additional funding to keep those projects going. So you can see that it is quite an impact to the budget. Managing the infrastructure gapping as presented in the 2021 asset management plan. So I'll talk a little bit about gapping in a second, as well as changes in regulations impacting the construction industry. So those are changes such as, so you think of the environmental compliance approvals, typically for wastewater. Now there's a compliance requirement for stormwater. So you'll see that in our operating budget, how that has an impact from the ministry in terms of how we report back to the ministry, and the information they require is quite extensive. Excess soil and how that is handled has had an impact on not only our projects, but as well as staff times and whatnot. So we have had additional to Bill 23, which we are looking at how that impacts our tenure, but there are other ministry guidelines that have affected our operations and our projects. So just on gapping here, so this chart is from the 2021 asset management plan, but I just want to explain this because when we talk about $20 million a year in gapping of infrastructure, it doesn't necessarily mean that let's increase our budget by 20 million. All of a sudden we're all up to date. A lot of the times the information that we see, we're able to utilize the asset longer than its technical service life. So if there's a pipe running fine, it's past its life service life that's calculated, it'll make this chart. So we may not necessarily have to fix it, but it's still going to be captured as past its service life. So the 20 million may not necessarily be a direct correlation of what we need in the plan. So there's a lot to it as well. You know, there's resourcing if we have to add a lot of these projects in just to get up to it and have kind of a service level on our infrastructure that we're always meeting that life cycle. We probably wouldn't have the resources to do that as well. So it's something that we deal with through condition assessment. So you see how the trend kind of comes down. It's below that line for the infrastructure gapping, but our condition assessments are done every 2 or 3 years. So you'll see in the next 2 or 3 years 25, 7, and so forth will move up into that gapping, and because there'll be more infrastructure identified for upgrades because of its service life. I can definitely explain that a little bit more in detail if council wishes. Next slide, please. This is so just an overview of our project. It's the last slide of the presentation. Basically laying out what I discussed earlier in terms of the growth versus the non-growth projects, as well as the funding sources for each. I do want to bring to the attention of the committee and Chair Martin for consideration. There are a couple of changes that I would recommend for the budget right off the bat. One of those is reference number 172. So that's resurfacing of municipal parking lots. I understand it is separated already. But the detail sheet, the verbiage in the detail sheet stated that we need $220,000 for the work. However, the number that's in your workbook is $140,000. There's about $80,000 gapping of what we actually need. So I would recommend that we add the committee adds the $80,000 to the funding that's actually required for the municipal parking lot. This is the parking lot behind City Hall, adjacent to the transit terminal, that requires resurfacing. But you know, if we remember the fire hall $72,000 parking lot, that this parking lot is much larger. So you can see why the $140,000 wasn't the appropriate number for this project. The other project is reference number 193. So this is the Brantford Transit replacement of onboard equipment for conventional and specialized. So we did a review of this project. I'm not comfortable with the $1 million that's in front of council, in front of the committee at this time. I feel we can do better and actually come in within the budget. So we're going to go back to our purchasing processes and maybe putting that tender out again. So I would request that that project for $1 million be struck from the list. Next slide. So again, I just want to thank the committee for their time, allowing me to present a few highlights and some challenges for us to consider as we go through our budget. And staff, PW leadership staff is here to assist with any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thanks, Indy. Does anybody have any questions of a general nature on the Councillor Sluss?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just through you to Indy. Indy, when you were showing the gap as we progress out, it got larger and larger. The water and wastewater were also getting wider and wider, and yet they're based, their rate supported.
Mm-hmm.
So how would that? How do you drive those two statements?
So the gapping in that actually doesn't get further apart. It actually shows that we dip under the line of if today we take a snapshot, 2 years we're okay, and then we've got a gap, but then we're within range of what our typical capital budget is. But that's not necessarily true because we have to conduct our condition assessments, which you see a lot of those in here. So those numbers after 24, 25, they will come up, and all the bridges and whatnot you see in there will start to increase.
Okay.
So the funding in terms of our reserves, that's how we balance, or that's how we create our budget. So it's kind of like ebbs and flows. So we're going to see a lot of high level projects, and from the rate reserve right now is fairly healthy. I believe there's about $14 million in the reserve. I'm just looking, and so that will dip down to 8 million or 5 million, then it'll come back up depending on as it builds to other larger projects that are needed, and it keeps kind of ebbing and flowing. But we need to be able to understand the condition of all these, so that's how it's planned.
Okay. Well, I would also, maybe it's too simplistic to look at it the way I look at it, but if there's a shortfall, then the rates increase. Like, so there should never be a shortage of funding to do the work that needs to be done. Am I misunderstanding something?
No, there wouldn't, because we have the reserves to pull from. So that's how we have a kind of a pot there, so that if any projects do come up, we're able to manage that as they go in. And if we have a year where we don't have many projects, we put that away into the pot, so that a year that comes up where we may have a gap, we can pull again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In Indy, the $1 million that you want to strike from 193, is that coming directly out of reserves?
That's coming from the gas tax.
And so does the gas tax allow us to allocate that money that you're going to wait and see if we save it, and then you'll allocate the savings to someplace else?
Yeah, so it's dependent on the projects. Now we were thinking about where else to put that money towards, but again, that comes with a deadline in terms of usage and whatnot. So at the moment, we don't really have it would just go back to the reserve.
Now, when you say go back to reserve, but how does the deadline affect the reserve?
I'm not too sure about that, to be honest. I'd have to bring that information back, Councillor.
Yeah, would you bring it back to all of the committee, and what options are available with the gas tax money for this money in the future?
Yes, I'll bring that back, as well as we'll look at some options as well.
Okay, and that'll come back before we finalize the budget?
That's right. Yep.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Indy, when you're talking about grants, does the fact that the police station build is net zero, does that open up other grants that might be available for that because of the net zero?
Unfortunately, through you, Chair, unfortunately, it does not. Because it's a police build, category police build, it would not. And that's what we're hoping. Maybe there'll be something that comes down the line to help with that. But at the moment, just if there's a net zero component, we wouldn't be able to, it wouldn't be eligible. Whereas Southwest, we've spoken to the school, we'd like to get grant money there for net zero builds. There, it would be on top of the already approved budget, and it would be able to be done there because community. And if the community is able to use a percentage of the space openly, then it's eligible. But whereas the police build, the community space is very small, and so it wouldn't meet the eligibility of any of those grants.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll now commence with the separated items. We'll start with items 7D 102 and 7D, excuse me, 123. As these were requested for separation by staff to be amended. Do I have a mover and a seconder to increase 7D 102 by 80,000 to a total of 202,000 and remove item 7D 123 for a reduction of $1 million? Moved by Councillor Sullivan. Second by Councillor Caputo. Questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll call the question.
I'm sorry, once again, Councillor Hunt, your vote is not coming through. Are you able to verbalize it?
Yes, this time it didn't show up on the iPad, so I vote yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move into the items that were separated. Starting with number one, I have both Mayor Davis and Councillor Sicoli asked for this one to be separated. Would you like to start, Councillor Sicoli, since you're in chambers?
I can start. I just have a question. First of all, kudos to everyone who's been involved in bringing this together. It's much needed in the Southwest, and I'm very excited for it, as well as many of the residents in West Brant. Indy, can you sort of enlighten me to the process? Because I haven't heard too much from the three parties and what they're kind of putting together. Will the design from this filter to the Southwest Task Force, or will it come directly to council?
Through you, Chair Martin. The design or the layout, there's discussions with councillors, an MOU already between the Grand Area District Board and ourselves and the library. So all of that is already in place. The money here is to actually increase costs. You saw the library come the first night, requesting the architectural and design cost increase, same as happened on our end. But all of that is already set. So there wasn't a plan to come forward to the task force. We've already reported again to the task force with phase 2 changes, with all of the cricket and whatnot, as well as the build and the size of the land that was needed for this site. So all of that is already being put forward in front of council. Now, if council wishes, we could provide an update information.
I was just curious where we were going to see the design first.
Yeah, if we get through the chair, if we see renderings come through, we will
forward it to me.
Yeah, we'll distribute them.
And I just wanted to give kudos because I know this was not easy, particularly between the school board and the library, and everybody handled it really, really beautifully. And thank you. Thanks.
Mayor Davis?
Yeah, Councillor Sicoli asked my question, but I've got another one for you on this, Indy, through you, Mr. Chair. So fair to say that the school board is leading the consortium then, and the timing depends to a large degree on where they're at school?
Through the chair, that's correct, Mayor Davis.
All right, because it looked to me like this has been extended out about another year than what we'd originally anticipated. Like, I think we were hoping construction would begin on this timetable, 2025?
So the school is expecting being open in September of 25 as the first year there.
Right, and how does our construction, how will that be coordinated with the school? Same time, afterwards, and also the library?
Yeah, through you, Chair Martin. So the same time, it's going to be one build, completely is one building, not two separate builds.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Sorry, any other questions? Seeing none, we'll call the question. Oh, we're not voting on each one?
Only if there's amendments.
Okay. The next two were asked for separation by Councillor McCurry, who unfortunately is running a little late this evening. He had a medical appointment. So that brings us to item 4, Councillor Sullivan. This is the new park open space development.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And through you, just actually a quick question. The funds that are being allocated for this, will they be used in 2023? Or because I'm just looking at the fact that there's no funds allocated for 2024. Is no reason why we can't spread it out over the 2 years?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Sullivan, Jennifer Elliott, Director of Engineering Services. This $400,000 is intended to be utilized in 2023 for one of the 4 parks identified.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. The next 3 were asked for Councillor McCurry as well as others, so we'll delay those until he arrives. Number 8, stormwater flow monitoring program, Councillor Sullivan. I believe you asked for this one.
Okay. What the heck am I here? Which one is it? 16, right?
18.
Oh, 18.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my question here was through you, Chair, is the initial costs for 23 and for 26, we're looking at 175,000 DC and then 50,000, but the other years are 125 and 50. Like, what's the difference? Like, why do we have a variance there?
Through the chair to Councillor Sullivan, my apologies. The DC split is consistent. It's the total value that changes as we move forward. And that could be typically with inflation.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Davis, your name's on this one as well. Did you have a further question?
Indeed, I do. And so this is to do, you're monitoring the flow of stormwater to help with the planning. And so why is it you do it every year? I mean, if you do it in 1 year, don't you really have enough data that takes you through another couple of years? Just trying to understand why it's so essential to keep doing this to this degree every year.
Through the chair to you, Mayor Davis. I'm going to call upon Mike Abraham, who's the manager of infrastructure planning, who's in charge of that project.
Good evening, through the chair, Mike Abraham, manager of infrastructure planning, to Mayor Davis. We constantly want to do flow monitoring every single year to keep building that data library that we have. Over the past little while, we do have a lot of information on some of our major storm systems, but we lack information with our minor system, which reacts differently depending on the type of storm. So doing a constant program year after year allows us to collect that information. Once we have significant information, we would probably defer the program to every 2 years, maybe every 3 years.
Yeah, well, what you've got here is continue to do it at a fairly intense pace for, well, at least 10 years.
Yeah, it was recommended over a 10-year period to cover the city. We're hoping that the funding source that is allocated could get us maybe between 10 to 12 monitors a year. And we would take those monitors every year and move them around the city. Each monitor would be in place for approximately 12 months.
All right, and so what do? Like, you divide the city up into zones, and 1 year you do this zone, and the next year you go on to the next one, or? Like...
That's one possible way of doing it. We have been looking at areas of concern and risk to deploy the monitors.
So how long have you been doing this program?
So we've done it once back in 2017, and we have one happening this year.
And then every year for the next 10
years. But once we start collecting data, if we get a lot of wet weather, gives us more data that we can use to calibrate our storm model. It's anticipated to be a 10-year program, but if we get a lot of good wet weather events, that just more data we get, that's when we can modify the program.
Okay, and then what do you do with the data?
The data is used to modify our stormwater model. It allows us more information we have in the model, better decision making we can make instead of assuming how the system's going to react.
And so what kind of decisions does it affect?
A lot of it affects just the sewer upsizing that we would require in the future.
That's it? Just the sewer sizing?
Sewer upsizing, it can how much water is reaching to the Grand River, if there's any localized flooding, etc. The risk of localized flooding as well.
Don't you really have a handle on that right now? Like what the problem areas are in the city?
Well, like I said, we have a good idea on some of the major systems. It's the minor system that we're lacking.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm just saying to staff, it's quite an investment of money over 10 years. And I'm just wondering, does that make sense? Is the data that we're gonna get out of this, is it worth spending this kind of money year in, year out? Don't expect the answer now, but hope we can get a response on that.
Okay, Councilor Carpenter.
Hey, Mr. Chair, Mayor sparked a comment for me or question, Mike. So when you talk about the modeling of the overflows or the flows, would we be taking into account the global warming and the increase of storms that we would get from time to time? Back what used to be a 50-year storm is now an every other year storm. Is that part of the process for upscaling what size of the sewers we need?
It would be, but by doing the yearly program, we're going to be, like I said, capturing more of those storms, especially the larger storms that we've been seeing over the last little while. That's one of the main reasons why we want to do this constantly to build that data library that we have.
Would it be prudent of us to just simply assume, knowing quite well that we're going to get more and more global warming and more storms? They're going to be maybe less storms, but more intense storms. Should we not be upsizing as a matter of good practice? It seems to me when we talk about global warming and so forth, everybody is dealing with what happens after they've had a heavy rainstorm or a tornado or whatever it may be caused. That they're preventative is what we'll be looking at. Is that kind of what this does, anyways?
Yeah, like it helps us make better decisions on what type of upsizing we would need. Right now, we can run our model, but if we don't have the information in that model, we are really just assuming what type of flows we might expect during different storm events.
Okay, and this would likely be reflected in our climate change reports then.
Yes, reviewing our IDF curves is definitely something that we should be doing in the future.
Thank you.
Indy?
Yep, just to add, Chair Martin, to Councillor Carpenter and Mayor Davis. In 21, we were successful in a grant for half the cost of this type of program. I mentioned natural disaster type grants are trending. So we would apply again for grants. We've been successful in the past.
And hopefully we'll be successful again in the future. Anything further on this item? Okay, item 9, MP Street Pumping Station. Councillor Sullivan, have you is on the list.
Thank you, Chair. Hey. My numbers are backwards. Okay, just a question here. What is the cause for the massive increase here from the 3.5 to the 14.1?
Through you, Chair, Sylvie Congera, Director of Environmental Services. Through the Chair to the Councillor, The 6 million was the design and land acquisition part of the design cost, and the 14 million is for the construction of the project.
Thank you.
Councilor Carpenter.
Yes, I separated this. Thank you. And hello, Selby. I just wanted to ask you a question on what is a type 3 station? It's in the report, but I don't remember what that is.
Councillor, it's just based on the flow and the complexity of the station. So MP Street is our complex station in the whole city. So that means it receives higher flows, it has bigger pumps, it has more bells and whistles and controls. And so that's the type of the station is categorized based on the complexity of the station.
And will this, everything will be upsized here, I assume, and will this be servicing land further to the north?
Through you, Chair, yes, Councillor. So this is the expansion is mainly to support the growth in the north and the east.
Okay, and I understand what all the other acronyms, the TSSA and so forth, mean on the report. What does the NFPA 820 requirement mean?
It is the fire code requirement. So there are many. Sorry about that. We'll expand the acronym.
That's okay.
So yes, there are many regulations. So that's all part of that.
Okay, so National Fire Safety. So the amount of flows we need for fire prevention, like we had on Henry Street.
Yes, that's
okay.
Definitely, yes.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for the work on this pumping station. I know everybody's been waiting for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Davis.
Yeah, through you to Selby. First of all, the sheets, this is sheet 19, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be really helpful if that appears in the east graph horizontally, not vertically, so I don't have to turn my head sideways to read it. But there's a lot of information packed into that sheet 19. So, Selby, what portion of the boundary lands will this support? And will there need to be further upgrades and upsizing of this pumping station as we build out the boundary lands?
Through the chair to the mayor. So right now with the expansion, our goal is for the next couple of decades, we do not need to upgrade. This is supposed to, it will support the growth in the north and growth within the city and in the east part of the growth areas. We do monitor the storm sewer flows and our station flows. If by any chance the demand or more flows are coming in, we do continue to monitor station flows so we can plan the upgrades in the future.
So you get stormwater flowing through this pumping station as well as?
Through the chair, no, Mr. Mayor, the storm is separated from sanitary in Brantford.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. And what area will this serve? Like, will this service out the support expansion of the boundary lands going west to King George Road or?
Through the chair, yes. So all of the north of the city and east of the expansion lands, all the growth in the north and the east will go through MP.
Yeah, well, what'll go through the Oak Park Road extension?
Park
extension in the other way, the north, going north, not south.
Yeah, except the northwest area, pretty much all the flows flow towards the east and then they come south through the MP.
So where is the continental divide then in those boundary lands?
Around the northwest, I would say by our golf course, maybe that part of the area.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, I just have one. At one point, Selby, there was talk of doing a pipe instead of a pumping station. Was that looked at seriously, and what happened with that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that was looked at as one of the alternatives and it was very expensive. In the EA process, when alternatives were evaluated, the pipe was considered, but it was expensive and was ruled out. And it was also technically challenging.
Okay, a siphon wouldn't work in that situation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sluss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sylvie, in the past, when we were dealing with all the problems we had with pumping stations, there was concern that stormwater was getting in and eating up capacity that really wasn't capacity. Has that been rectified?
Through the chair to the councillor, I would say it's an ongoing effort. So what we do is the pipe system, as it ages, we replace them. So if we don't replace them, then there are gaps in the pipes or cracks in the pipes where groundwater or rainwater can get in. So it is an ongoing effort, and that's why we do CCTV video, and we also do the sanitary pipe monitoring, storm pipe monitoring. We use all that data and also pumping station data to see how much water we're getting, how much of it is storm water, so we can control it.
So we're doing better than we were then. We've corrected a lot of those cracks and leaks and things. And
yes, councillor.
great, thank you.
Okay, seeing nothing further on this one, we'll move on to item 10. Mount Pleasant Trunk Sewer. Councillor Sicoli.
Actually, no longer need this one or 11,
Oh,
but I do need 13. Sorry.
Mayor Davis, you're on the list for this one as well.
Yeah, kind of a general question that applies to those Mount Pleasant. Sorry to turn my video on. Those Mount Pleasant Road projects. So is this going to take I know there's sewer, there's some water as well, I think. Or is it just sewer? Is it going to take the water system that's out there off the county system?
Through the chair, that's correct, Mayor Davis. We have a deadline of 2025 to move to complete this project.
So we're going to meet that deadline then?
That's correct.
And once that's finished, will the residents be able to water their lawns?
Through the chair, I would assume so, yes.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay, nothing further on that one. We'll move on. 11, you still wanted, Councillor Sicoli? 13? Okay, we had 11 separated. Did anybody want to have a question on that one? Seeing none, we're on to 13. Councillor Sicoli.
Well, Mayor Davis asked my question at an earlier, I think they're all linked, 10, 11, and 13. My question was really around water pressure. I know the residents in that neck of the woods are having a really hard go of not having appropriate water supply. And I just wanted to make sure that this project was going to rectify that issue, but it sounds like it is, correct? Perfect. Then that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on this? Okay, number 15 is requested by Councillor McCurry and others. So we'll go to 16. Councillor Sullivan, I have you on the list for this. This is the airport, the perimeter road, security fencing, and access gates.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. With regards to the security, what type of security are we referencing? Are we talking about patrol, camera, surveillance? Just trying to get some clarification.
Rick Cox, Director of Parks and Facilities, through the chair to the councillor. This is specifically around access control. So it's gates. We don't have any CCTV camera footage or around the whole perimeter. We are looking to install some CCTV in and around the area of the terminal because there has been some security issues in that area. But this is mostly around access control around the entire perimeter of the airport property, especially related to the fencing and the gates.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Davis, I believe you had questions on this one as well?
No.
Okay, Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you. Takes me a second. I'm operating three screens here. Just to staff, the funding for this is a capital project, but the funding still comes out of the reserves from the airport that the airport generates for themselves. Is that not correct? This isn't tax supported revenue, is it?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and that's a standard question for all of them, so that covers me. Thank you.
Any further on this one? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to 17. Airport, new taxiways in general aviation hangar area. Mayor Davis, you'd asked for this one.
Yeah, which specific taxiways are we talking about?
Through the chair, this is the taxiways that would lead to the new hangars being built and to extend the taxiways between the existing recreational hangars to where the new hangars are going to be situated on the west end of the airport.
This is the new proposed T hangars.
That's correct.
And so if you decide not to proceed with the T hangars, we wouldn't need this then.
That's correct.
And where's the money coming? If you don't do the T hangars and you don't do this, what do you do with the money? You're saying it's sitting in the reserve?
Through the chair, the taxiway extension is funded through the airport reserve, and so that money would stay in the reserve. The hangar projects are funded through debenture, funded from the and the servicing of that debt is funded from the revenue from the tenants in those new hangars.
Well, I got some questions on the T hangars, but I guess we have to wait for Councilor McCurry to arrive. So.
Yeah, we'll go back to that one. For this paving for the new taxiways, will you also be addressing the drainage issue that is in some of the existing pavement in that area?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any further on this item? Okay, we'll move on to item 19. Barrier-free design, accessibility improvement initiatives. McCurry, Davis, and Hunt. So Councillor Hunt, we'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to, so this just appears based on the 10-year forecast to be just a number, $110,000. So I guess through the chair to staff, I'm not, maybe somebody could address who decides on the number and based on any given year, what projects, it's very vague. It just says potential projects could include. I'm wondering who does the planning to spend that $110,000 and why we're anticipating that would be the same amount for the next 10 years.
Through the chair, we have a list of accessibility projects that have been identified that we work with our accessibility coordinator within the city, Jenny Swicky, to make sure that the prioritization of that work is done in alignment with the accessibility planning that she's doing, as well as issues that are arising in our various facilities. So as an example, we have a number of projects in the planning stages or in the procurement stages, things like some adult change tables, some upgrades to the at various locations within the Wayne Gretzky Sports Center. We have some universal washroom, change rooms, and emergency alarms that we're planning at 400 Grand River, and some door modifications at a number of facilities. Within the City Hall, there's a number of relocations of card readers that have been completed and are underway. Pathways improvements so that they are more accessible. Some visual improvements to signage so that it's more appropriate for folks that have color sensitivities. There's a number of projects that arise in any given year. The number of $110,000 was established as a reasonable amount to allocate and have an allocation to be able to tap into year after year. Obviously, as things get to be more expensive, we're going to need to revisit that number going forward, maybe increasing it as an annual allocation in years to come.
And through the chair to you, Rick, the project that you referenced, the relocation of card readers, it actually is an issue that was identified by myself when I needed to start coming into City Hall on a regular basis. But this, in my mind, is actually an issue that goes back to the project manager that did the entire renovation of City Hall. So these card readers being relocated are because they were located wrong to start with. So do we have any, I'm assuming what's happening right now is being taken from last year's budget. But do we have any recourse to go back on a property manager that basically the project wasn't completed correctly to start with?
Through the chair, the design was implemented as it was designed by the folks developing the project. So no, we don't have any recourse.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Davis, I had you on the list as wanting to speak to this one as well.
No, it's okay. The question's been asked.
Okay, Councilor Carpenter.
Yeah, so going forward, we're talking about the new build down in Shutters Lane. Are we going to have some assurance that they're all going to be OADA compliant, especially any new builds or any renovations that we do? I think we have a policy. Are we going to follow that up, or who follows that up to make sure that is the case?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor, yes, those the AODA regulations and even the city's FAD standard are being provided to the designers of those facilities. Part of the challenge that we have is that the designs were compliant, but they weren't adequate to the need. So compliance and adequacy are two different levels. And when we start using a facility, we realize that although perhaps it's according to code, it perhaps doesn't work the way we need it to work. And that's when some of these changes come about.
And do we have a timeline to meet the provincial requirements? My memory says 2025, but I'm not.
So all new builds going forward must meet that requirement, and any retrofits that we, any significant renovations will meet that standard. Yes.
So do we have a plan or a program in place that tells council how we're going to get there by even our existing buildings by a certain date, by 2025, for example?
Through the chair, I believe the accessibility coordinator reports and provides that planning and supports the fact that the city is moving in the right direction on those matters.
In the right direction, but a timeline. Is there a timeline and a budget that's going to be that could be presented to council to show us how we're going to be to meet all these guidelines going forward and when? I think that gets to Councillor Hunt's question: is why is that $110,000? And we don't really have an answer why it's $110,000. We just we bumped it up from 100 to 110 all of a sudden for inflation, without really having an idea of what we're going to need on an annualized basis and what the program plan would be for the capitalization to make sure we're fully compliant in our city. So that the question is, will we have a program coming forward that will show us how we get there?
Councillor, we can take that one away and come back to council with a report on that.
That's fine. Thank you.
Seeing nothing further on this one, move on to 20. Mayor Davis, you asked for this one. It's bridges, branch crossing, pedestrian bridge replacements.
Yes, this is very exciting. The replacement of the Grant Crossing Bridge. So the design work's being done this year. It looks like construction starting in 2024. So my question is, how long will the construction take to complete? And will it start in 2024?
Through the chair to you, Mayor Davis. Yes, the intent is that the design will occur in 2023 and construction will begin in 2024. Once we work through all of the design, we will know the exact timeframe of construction. It's anticipated that it would be 1 year of construction.
And in terms of design of the bridge, will you be soliciting input from users of the river besides just pedestrians, bicyclists, and in particular, I'm thinking the lookout on the current bridge, although not necessary for pedestrians and bicyclists, that's often used by those who admire and enjoy the river, and also others who actually use the river for other recreational pursuits.
Through the chair to you, Mayor Davis. Yes, that is correct. We will do engagement and consultation and look at the holistic of the area for potential lookouts to the river.
Just to add, Mayor Davis, process, we did have a 30% design that showed a new lookout space on the bridge itself. So that engagement was done as well as through our GRCA partners to raise the bridge to avoid any potential ice damage. But through the design, we can make it fun for the community as well and get them involved. But a lot of that lookout space and the width of the bridge and whatnot, that was presented through the EA process.
Okay, great, thanks.
Seeing no further questions on this one, we'll move on to 84. Bridges again, bridge immediate repair needs, various bridges. Mayor Davis.
No questions.
Does anybody else have any questions on this one? Okay, Councillor Sluss, building and facilities, Wayne Gretzky Sports Center, water slide replacement.
Yes, I guess, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to, I guess, Mr. Cox. Rick, it's $700,000 for a slide. And I think the background material indicated about 60,000, or it was estimated for 60,000 people uses per year. Is that 60,000 individual people using that, or is that 60,000 times somebody's gone down that slide?
That's a very good question, Councillor, through the chair. I'm not sure the answer I don't have that answer.
Okay, well, it's just, I'm there quite often with grandchildren and I don't see people using the slide a lot. There are people that use it, but not, there's no lineup to get on that. You simply go. That I wondered, the 700,000, is that going to build something or create something that is more exciting than just sitting and going down a slide? Like, I realize it goes outside and does all these things, but it's 32 years old. So I would presume slides have evolved into something a little more challenging, a little more exciting. I'm wondering if the 700,000 simply replaces what's there, or does it upgrade the experience for the user?
We will be looking at the options, Councillor. As you suggest, technology and adventurism has changed in 30 years. So we certainly want to make sure that we're setting up the facility for success for the next similar time frame rather than just replacing like for like.
Okay, yeah, well, I would just hope with the number of zeros in this price tag, I would hope that we put something in there that we can wear it out instead of date it out. So hopefully we can do something that is more appealing and I guess better used by the public. Thank you.
Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you. I'm reading your detailed report. You say the water slide is unable to pass TSSA inspection. So is means it hasn't been inspected yet. So is isn't a was. So what makes you think it will not pass TSSA inspection?
Right now, the TSSA is expecting us to make some adjustments to the structural support platforms in order to meet their requirements. We have made those changes and are waiting for the inspection to come, and hopefully we'll be able to reopen the slide for the last few months of its life. This is a slide that this project will take a number of months to design and procure. So we're hoping we can make sure that it's usable again in the near future. Once the TSSA components have been completed, the parts have arrived and been installed, and we can get it inspected.
Okay, Rick, that was my question, because it says is, so really it means the water slide was unable to pass TSA inspection, and then the recommendations, you're making those upgrades right now. Or am I reading that wrong?
It looks like there might be a very important if at the first part of that sentence.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much.
Seeing nothing further on this one, we'll move on to the next one. Mayor Davis, 2358 Dalhousie Building and Tower Facade Repairs and Preservation.
Yeah, no questions on that one.
Anybody else have any questions on this item? Okay, the next one is buildings, facilities, timekeeper cottage and portico preservation, $360,000. I asked for this one, and my question through to staff is, what exactly are we getting for $360,000, and is it something that we need to do?
Through the chair, to answer your question, the building condition assessment that was conducted in 2022 identified a number of things that were required to ensure the facility was structurally sound enough to be there and in a safe way. And these are all exterior pieces on both the portico and the timekeepers building. So it's things like masonry repairs and the wood siding and windows and exterior doors. These elements are about structure and not restoration or renovation, but preservation, so that it can be ready if and when the museum project gets off the ground and can deploy it. So it's about preserving and making safe what's there. It's not about improving or adding to. There are things like, as I said, replacing windows, replacing the door and siding, and fixing up the masonry and the structure. That's there.
And what information do we have that a museum is going to want to use it?
That I can't speak to. We'll have to bring that back, Councillor.
Okay, and what would it cost to remove the items instead of doing preservation on them?
I can bring that cost back as well.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Anyone else on this item? Mayor Davis. Okay.
Pretty nervy, Chair, asking those questions, I guess, but Councilor Curry's not here, it's a little safer. But so the question I have for Rick, so I understand the need for preservation, but isn't it kind of all conditional upon or assuming that the Industrial Heritage Museum will actually incorporate this, and the Industrial Heritage Museum will be able to achieve its vision? And is that a certainty? And if that's the case, is this something that perhaps we should be delaying a year or two just to make sure that that's all going to proceed, so we're not potentially wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Through the chair, Heidi DeVries, General Manager, People, Legislative Services and Planning. Just to support our friends in Public Works, this is coming forward. It was referenced in a separate report on the update to the Mohawk Lake district plan implementation. The city has a lease with the CIHC for approximately 2 acres within that space. And I can say from our last meeting with the CIHC, they do very much intend to incorporate these the facades within their design. Of course, to the mayor's point, that can change. In terms of their timeline for development, that's still in the works and will be subject to a neighborhood meeting to be held on January 26th at the Civic Center. But at this point, what staff are doing are undertaking not only the follow-up from the assessment, but they're planning for those particular repairs to the structure in light of the conversations that we've had with this community group.
And what about the issue of timing? Does it have to be done now, or is it something that can be safely deferred a year or two?
So through the chair, in terms of the timing, I think that there were some immediate needs to repair. I believe it was the mortar and the bricks around one of the facades, because that particular area is in a poor state of repair according to the condition assessment, which I won't speak to at any technical level. And we have been in communication with the museum about the fact that the city would be undertaking those repairs. In terms of the overall scope of the work, I do think that some of that really depends on the timing of the development here. And there are a number of factors that come into play, as this council is aware of. So I believe they're looking for the full amount of the project, but that may have to be phased depending on some of those other development conversations.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else on this item? Councilor McCurry, we're on the timekeeper's cottage and portico preservation. Did you wish to weigh in on this item? Okay. With that then, because the food's here, we'll take a short recess till 6 o'clock and we'll resume where we left off. Unless seeing no objections, that's okay. In recess.
First one, yep. Yeah, I think the DC allocation.
We have quorum. We are resumed. We've gone back to the top to accommodate the late Councilor McCurry. So item number 2, Police Service Headquarters redevelopment.
Still powering up here, Mr. Chair.
Chop, chop.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we are, with respect to the police build, how much are we beyond our original estimate? Is it 17,700,000?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary. The budget before you right now is an additional $17.7 million.
Okay, that's what I thought, Jen. And if I recall from one of these reports, we're now not leaving an empty third floor. We're leaving space here and there throughout the building.
Correct. We are spacing it out within the building to allow for growth within each department division.
Sure, there's some sense to that, I'm sure. But I also see that we are going to avail ourselves of utilizing our empty asset up on Wayne Gretzky Parkway. And I'm wondering if staff have ascertained for themselves whether or not that's necessary and whether that stuff simply can't be accommodated in space in the new building.
So through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary, during the workshops, they have reviewed the efficiencies of moving staff to each location. And that it was decided that the tourism center would be utilized for staff to move there. However, it's a much more reduced use.
And these are decisions that are made and then passed along to the task force for ratification, correct?
Correct.
So the task force hasn't really played a hands-on role in terms of being involved in arriving at these decisions?
Correct. The design constraints with moving between buildings and such, that's more of a design component that is reached between the two parties and not brought to the task force.
Okay, so now the total is, let's see if my math is correct, it's going to be like $57 million, if only it was $57,000. 57 mil, Jen?
That is correct.
Now, are those 2023 dollars or are they $2025 when we write the check?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary, it is the most recent Class C estimate, and there has been some contingencies placed into that for potential cost escalations.
So the answer is?
The estimate of the build is right now in 2022 dollars. There is room within that for contingency for escalation.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions on this item? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, Councilor McCurry, miscellaneous capital on-road active transportation.
Do we have any more bike lanes planned for the third ward for 2023?
Through the chair, Mark Jacklin, Director of Operational Services. We're just actually working on the active transportation master plan that will be approved, hopefully be approved Q2 this year. And through that, there will be basically the master plan. So there will be in Ward 3. I don't know when the plan is to actually implement those though.
Not this year though, Mark.
We will talk. I through the chair, I don't know until the master plan is approved.
That was only a question because my voice went up at the end.
Okay, thank you.
As in the master plan, that was in the 22 budget?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else on this item? Seeing none. Next one is item 15. Mayor Davis.
Yeah, sorry, I was slow on the uptake there. So on that number, we were on number 13, right? 73?
Yes.
Right. And does that include, Mr. Jackson Street, Mr. Chair, to the what's referred to as the Golden Mile on Powerline Road, or is that not included?
Sorry, through the chair, I couldn't hear you, Mayor Davis.
Does that include the potential trail along Powerline Road?
Through the chair, the master plan would outline that, and the cost for that would probably be a separate project.
Okay, so not part of this project then.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, seeing nothing further on item 3. Next, we have item 5. Councillor Sullivan, you were one of the ones on this one.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. Just wondering why we're budgeting this every other year as opposed to annually at a lower rate, or if that's even possible.
Through the chair to you, Councillor Sullivan. The item 75, inflow and infiltration, that's for repairs for work within the system. And at this point, as we're gauging it through, we could bring it forward to annual as opposed to biannual.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Councillor McCurry.
This is the inflow and infiltration source investigation. Oops, sorry about that. This is specific to the location cited 5th Ave, Johnson Road and North Central.
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary. Yes, those are the 3 areas that have been identified and to be studied.
Okay, and it says manhole lining and repair. Does that mean we will set the manholes at the proper elevation so it doesn't destroy the front end of my car?
We can look into it at that same time. It would be a separate contractor
Okay.
that would lift as opposed to line.
Yeah, we've done a number of them with concrete surrounds. Is that our new standard, or is that simply when we remediate?
Correct. That is the new standard to
Okay.
limit the shifting of the manholes with
Yeah.
frost.
Yeah, excellent. An excellent plan. Long overdue. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Mayor Davis, I believe you asked for this one to be separated as well. Do you have any questions?
No, not now.
Okay, follow-up question. You indicated that it could be done annually instead of biannually. Would that cut the amount in half each year, or are you looking to increase the funding for this project?
Through you, Chair, depending on what we find and all of the issues that we have and the cost of those issues, the cost could come up or it could come down based on what we find.
Okay. Any further questions on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. 7D6, Councilor McCurry. Transit optimization study.
That's much appreciated. When we say optimization, we don't mean slowing the buses down to be better for the environment. Is that correct?
Through Mr. Chair, Mike Spicer, Director of Fleet and Transit. No, again, the optimization is a larger word for basically looking at how we can improve the system. What tweaks do we need to make? What service adjustments do we need to make? So I think it's something that would actually speed our service up.
Did I say how good it is to have you back, Mr. Spicer?
It's great to be back, Councillor. Through the chair.
We'd be looking at augmenting and improving the framework that we have now. What about looking at new things? Is that something you're going to be undertaking?
As part of this plan, it's absolutely looking at as many options as we can to move not only people, but commodities through our community in the most efficient, effective, cost-effective way.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mayor Davis.
Yeah, following on that through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Spicer. So will this look at the issue of east-west routes in the northern part of the city to better connect the northwest industrial areas to the residential areas in the south, the northeast?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mayor Davis, absolutely. The current route structure has been here for a number of years. Actually, most of the routes were here when I was here 12 years ago. I think the city has changed, and I think that it has evolved to allow for a more prominent east-west movement of people, which will reduce the number of transfers, reduce the time on the bus, and allow for people to move effectively through the community by using public transit.
And my understanding is that some of the staff, some of the inspectors certainly have some views and would like to have some input into this. So how will their on the ground practical experience be incorporated into this and used or incorporated into this study?
What we have done through you, Mr. Chair, what we have done is I have set one-on-one conversations with all of the transit inspectors. I've also created a scheduling committee with our operators, full-time and part-time, to gain their opinions, their feedbacks, some direction of where they think we should be going in regards to our route design, our passenger comfort, our passenger loading. I have been able to gain a lot of information of what our drivers and what our inspectors think that the system should look like, and we will feed all of that information into the optimization study.
And one last question. So in these kinds of studies, has AI or artificial intelligence, is that crept in and being used as part of the analysis, or is that still probably a couple of years away?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's definitely an option that we will be looking at as we put together the terms of reference. It can be used in some very aggressive ways to understand people movement. So yes, it is something that we are looking at. We don't understand the costs associated with that at this time, but it is something that we will be looking at as we put together our terms of reference.
Okay, great. Thanks very much.
Councillor Slass.
Thank you. And welcome back as well. Good to see you. I'm often told that it's kind of crazy that all our buses go downtown and then head out again and then come back downtown and head out, that perhaps there should be transfer points throughout the city that would connect, as opposed to bring everybody back to the starting point and then restarting. Is that something, I guess, first, that's going to be contemplated in this study? And secondly, would that require transfer stations, some type of a building or a shelter or something that would house people while they're waiting to transfer to a different bus, not in the downtown area?
Through you, Mr. Chair, absolutely. Looking at the way that the community has evolved over the years, depending upon how we force those transfers at major hubs. So for example, if I use Linden Park Mall as an example, there would be amenities there that would be able to provide comfort to the passengers away from inclement weather. Would there be benches there? Probably, based upon the number of people that would have to wait and what their waiting time would be. I do think by looking at removing all of the buses from coming in and leaving the downtown terminal, we'll be able to reduce the transfer time and the wait time between buses, especially if we look at at looking at the north, south, east, west type of grid system. So yes, in some cases, we could be asking for a number of shelters. We could be looking at a building, or we could be looking at amenities at every one of the major hubs.
Okay. And just one final, I've seen in other communities, and I don't believe we do it here. I've never seen it, but even at some of the bus stops where there's a shelter for people to wait, there's an electronic information going by these folks, constantly telling them when the next bus is coming, that type of thing, where we're feeding them information to make their experience a lot easier and to understand where it is they're going and when they're going to get there and that type of thing. Is that something we're looking at as well through this study?
Through you, Mr. Chair, not directly through this study, but what I can tell you that when we look at upgrading our electronic fare management system and our computer-aided dispatch, the onboard vehicle, then that will allow us to be able to put some wayfinding signages in major parts of the city. So for example, I used the mall where we would be able to put that up. To put that up at every bus stop would be very expensive, and I'm not sure that we would be able to afford that. But having an app available on real-time bus information is something that we absolutely will be ensuring that we have somewhere down the road.
Terrific. Thanks a lot.
Councilor Carpenter.
Thank you. Mike, I've already welcomed you back at the inaugural, so I won't do it again here. But thank you. Mike, this program optimizations, does it include the Brantford Lift, so the specialized transit as well?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, it is the conventional services only.
Well, when will we look at the Brantford Lift services and the requirements and the need for the community? When does that get looked at then?
So we have the capability, and we do have some staff availability to look at it from a holistic perspective and look at the cost of moving passengers, the efficiencies of moving passengers, the onboard equipment that we would be required to have. But I would think that you would see that within the next couple years to do a complete review of the Brantford Lift services and how we can improve that.
You can see why I asked the question, because the report talks about provided by transit services, and that is a transit service. Okay, now, as part of this process, looking for the servicing plan and a master review, does that mean the bus shelters as well? We look for where we need bus shelters?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, it does.
Okay, we recently took down a bunch of what I thought were very good bus shelters and put up smaller ones. Could you is there an understanding? We never did get understanding from my constituents why we did that and what was the purpose.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and again, I can see if I can seek clarity on that. But what I can tell you is that part of Brantford Transit moving forward is that we will have service standards in place that will be very clear as to the size of the shelter, the amenities at each bus stop, and bus stop placement. So it will be very clear to our community what to expect at each bus stop based upon the loadings and the time of day and streetlights and all that other stuff. So we'll have some clarity for you, hopefully, in the next couple of months, Councillor.
So the optimization study will avoid us doing things like that, where we take down a large bus shelter and put down a smaller one in a busy area like
through you, Mr. Chair. I think our service standards that we will be presenting will look after that, and that will help feed into the optimization study, so that as we grow and as frequencies and as people come on board of our buses, it guides us into ensuring that we have the capacity at the bus stops to provide comfort for our customers.
Okay, and if you can, not in any hurry, but provide us myself and maybe the rest of my council colleagues and list of what that optimization so-called transit shelter system replacement cost us and what we received for the old shelters. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further questions on this item, we'll move on to the next one. Councilor McCreary, 7D7, reference page 17, wastewater collection system flow monitoring.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to staff. Could someone explain succinctly to those of us who don't understand these things what this is all about?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary. This is wastewater collection system flow monitoring. So it's a series of flow monitors, equipment that goes into our wastewater system, and it identifies where flows have increased for a variety of reasons. It could be inflow and infiltration. It could be many issues.
This is sewage.
Correct. This is wastewater collection system. There is another one for stormwater.
We've been doing this for quite some time.
Correct. We've been going through the system. We've been moving those, the sensors, the flow monitors throughout the system to identify where there is high flows, and we use it to calibrate our models.
So this is utilizing equipment that we own?
No, this is through a contractor, and they own the equipment. We advise them of where to place these sensors. They also, it's all proprietary. There's the units, it goes to the system, which we can log into remotely and see the read on those sensors.
So this is, this costs over the 10 years, close to $4 million. Do we get $4 million worth of value out of this in 10 years?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary, we do identify areas in the city in which we can stop any high flows, any leaks, which does aid us in reducing flows to our wastewater pumping stations, in which we have operating requirements for the pumps as well down to our wastewater treatment plant to treat this sewage.
So 300,000 a year, last year and this year, divided by 12, that's $25,000 a month.
I don't have my calculator with me, but that does sound
Thank you for
plausible.
not checking my math. So on a 6-day work week, that's $1,000 a day. What exactly do we get for that? Like we get some sort of a device that they put into the stream of this stuff and.
Correct. Yes, we do. There's the sensors that are placed throughout the system. The sensors, they are highly technical. They are very expensive sensors. They are in a unfavorable environment, let's say, going into a wastewater sewage pipe. So they do get clogged and plugged, and it is for that contractor in which to come back and clean. There is also 2 to 3 staff members that they have that go through all of that data and upload it into their system. We also have access to their computer system, so that is paying for their maintenance fees as well for the computer system.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Mayor Davis.
Yeah, kind of similar questions through you, Mr. Chair. How does this interrelate to the project 7D129 at page 199? That's the sewer inspection program. Do you need to do both? Isn't you just do one, or like?
Through the chair to you, Mayor Davis. I'm just trying to flip to that project. You said 7D129?
Which is reference point 199. That's the sewer inspection.
Correct. So that project that is delivered through our environmental services department. However, that is the closed circuit camera that goes through our wastewater system and our storm system, and it identifies any immediate issues like breaks, cracks, things along those lines. So that program also feeds into our sewer lining program so that we can repair any cracks that are found.
So they're actually quite separate then in terms of the issues that they're looking at.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Before we go to second time speakers, I just have one. Has this program identified any cross connections where we have stormwater flowing into our sanitary system?
Through to you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we are. That is a portion of the inflow and infiltration capital budget item where we identify if there's any cross connections in certain areas. Say particularly the Johnson Road area. It's instead of a high water table, it is potential that some of that high inflow is through cross connections and sump pumps. So we can move into that program and define that program with that dollar value to perform smoke tests and things along those lines to see where there are cross connections.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor McCurry.
Chair, thank you. I think I heard you say, Jen, that this was a proprietary system. This monitoring of what was your word for it? A challenging environment?
It's an unfavorable
sorry.
environment.
Yeah. So the equipment is proprietary?
The computer systems for it.
Okay.
So the where the data goes to. But we do have full access to that program, so we can see that daily, hourly.
Okay.
Yes.
So is there more than one contractor that does this work?
That is correct. There are multiple contractors, consultants that perform this work. We do place this out as an RFP in which to get our best vendor.
And is this done in every municipality?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary, I do not know myself, but I do believe so. We can find out for you.
Okay, and there's quite a bump from 300,000 to 400,000. I think it's starting in 24.
It's from between 2025 and 2026. We moved from 300,000 to 400,000.
Could you explain that?
At this point in time, it's more of an inflationary cost.
Wow, I'm in the wrong business.
We all are.
We all are. Yes, thank you.
Through the chair, yes, through the chair, Councilor McCreary, there was a project here prior to your attendance where we spoke about grant. So all three identified, including 129, they're all 50% grant funded. And a lot of times when we do need to put an application for grants, we do have to have a capital plan placeholders to show that this will be a part of a program. So we placehold the 10-year, whether we need it or not, but then we would apply for a grant. And like I said, all three that were mentioned were all 50% covered.
I understand completely. Thank you.
Anything else on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 7D15.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I've got one more question.
Go for it.
So I guess this would go to Jennifer through you. So we've heard of two recent incidents in Hamilton where it's the reverse. The sewer connected into storm and then emptying raw sewage into Hamilton Harbor. Do we have any examples of that happening here in Brantford? Is that a potential we have in Brantford? Or are we quite confident we don't have the cross contamination going from sewer into storm?
Through the chair to you, Mayor Davis, the city of Hamilton is in a different situation than the city of Brantford, where they have a combined, an older combined sewer system between the storm and the Sani. We do not have that in Brantford.
Happy to hear that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we'll move on to 7D15, reference page 78, the airport T hangars. Councillor Sullivan, let you start this one.
Thank you, Chair. Just another quick question. I'm looking at a $560,000 bump here, and it's saying we're going to have an estimated reduction of $5,000 annually. Am I missing something here?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Sullivan, the construction of these additional T hangars will allow the airport operation to get enough revenue to reduce at least $5,000 in terms of just the rent. It doesn't take into account the additional service revenue from fuel sales and aircraft landing, landing and takeoff fees. And we have a waiting list of more than what this additional T hangar would provide in terms of folks waiting to come to Brantford and park their planes. So we're obviously being a little conservative in how we anticipate this improving our operational savings through the revenue generated from this additional activity. The I can tell you that this is net after the servicing of the debt requirement for building the hangars though. So it's not just $5,000 against the cost of building the project. That is covered over and above the net revenue you're seeing here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I got Councillor McCurry next.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. The T hangar, we have some of those already, haven't we?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct.
Now, I think I've seen them, and I'm pretty sure that they don't look as though they were designed by an architect. They look as though they were designed sort of by the people that make Quonset huts. And yet we've got a design pre-engineering bill of $60,000 we're going to be paying. Is that for the design of the structure, Rick?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor, the design fees include, in terms of the consultant involved with this project, a lot of that work has already happened, but it's an engineering firm. These are structural engineers signing off on the structure. You're right, they're not architecturally fancy. It's also included, their work was also including the civil work to make sure that the drainage in the land around the taxiway, the taxiways and the aprons to the buildings are incorporated into that design work. So it's not architectural design work that's going on. It's more engineering and structural.
So is this the twin to a building we already have?
Yes, that's correct. This would be a duplicate of the larger. We have a stubby building that's we're planning to extend to full length and then duplicate that. So it is a duplicate pretty close to work they'd already done. This is not a new design. We're not redeveloping the wheel here. We are going back to work we've already done in the past.
Did we not own the drawings?
We did say build us another one of these. So it's not new design, but they are needing to be refreshed and stamped and all that kind of thing. So there is additional fees.
Okay. So at the conclusion of this project, will we own the drawings so we won't need to engage a structural engineer again on future work?
The building design itself wouldn't be the structural piece, but it's also, as I said, the civil work to make sure that the where the foundations are going to be going in the new location. We have incorporated in this work essentially the next one ready to go as well. So we are thinking that not only are we getting this design for the one that we're going to build through this project, but the next one is already queued up as part of this design work, and we hopefully will avoid fees from that.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Councillor Sluss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rick, we've done this in the past where we've built them and then the rental revenue offsets the cost of the mortgage or the debenture on the building that we're doing. Have we been in this business long enough that we've debentured, paid off the debenture, and now that full rent revenue is going into reserves?
I'll defer to my friends from the finance department. Thank you.
Okay.
Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Sluss. We do have a couple on the books. I think these really are the first two that we initially did. And the first one, the debenture payments will be ending in 2030. So still a little bit of time left. So they have been structured in a manner that they're paid over 20 years.
They're 20-year amortization?
Correct.
Okay.
To make it cost effective for the airport and to so that the revenues are able to pay for those additional costs as well as the operation of the hangar and provide surplus back to the airport.
Okay. All right. I would encourage staff to keep doing this as long as there's a market to fill the rental space that we're building, because at some point in the future, it's going to be very lucrative for the airport once these mortgages have been paid off. That revenue is strictly then for enhancement or operation, whatever it's targeted for. So I think this is a great way to build capacity and to build sustainability in the airport. So thank you.
Yeah, and to that, we've been doing them as the demand is there. We wait for the demand and then build the next row of T hangars. So next I have Mayor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what's the rent on the T hangars?
Through the chair, the current 2023 rate is $480 per month per hangar. So in a 12 hangar unit, you're going to, that's roughly just under $6,000 a month for each of the, from the T hangar.
So I thought there were 10 units. Are there 12?
The one we were, the design is for a 12 unit. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so like, is it a net lease? Like who pays insurance, utilities, property tax, maintenance?
So because on these buildings, the city remits the city pays the property taxes. There are not a lot of utility. These are not powered buildings. So folks have solar systems. There's not power to the buildings. For some of them there are, and those utilities are borne by the city as well. But the recovery of that is incorporated into the rent.
Okay, so
It's not a net. It's a gross rent. We get one bill from and pay all the costs for these particular types of hangars.
what will the debenture payments be per year?
The information I got today was that on this particular debenture, it'll be just under $60,000 per year for the financing. And if I have the information here, the revenue from the rent for the hangar is just under $70,000 per year.
Okay, but don't we have to work into that property taxes, insurance?
Yes,
the cost of maintenance on the building? Like have we done over a 20-year period what all the costs will be, including debenture costs, to make sure that the rent truly pays all of it?
I can bring that back to you, council, if you're looking for that.
Yeah, well, that's my concern. I agree these make sense so long as we're not subsidizing it. And I'd appreciate seeing, the detailed breakdown since debenture over 20 years, how that's all been calculated. Thank you.
Councilor Carpenter.
Yeah, my questions are similar to the mayor's. So $480 a month to store your plane. That's is that the market rate? Like, that seems awful low. I mean, I can't rent a bedroom in the city of Brantford for that kind of money. So is that what the market rents are to store your plane in a hangar?
Through the chair, councillor, we are looking at that each year. We are middle of the road in terms of rent. We are certainly, and that's one of the reasons why we have a waiting list for folks to come here. Many folks have been priced out of other markets and are looking for a space at a more affordable rate, to be honest. So we do look at that rate each year. Our friends in the real estate and leasing team are monitoring the market rates and establishing that as part of the rates and fees schedule each fall.
So each year, if I'm renting a spot for my plane at $480 a month, I'm not guaranteed that rate. It can go up each year, or how long is the lease rate for?
Yeah, that's correct. It's set on an annual basis.
So each year you could set that 480 could jump to 580, for example.
It could, yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Before I go to second time speakers, when you do the analysis, can we see the analysis on the ones that are about 10 years old as well? Because the rents have gone up on those, so it's covering the debentures as well as all the operating costs. I'm sure we'd have a breakdown of that. Generally, the rents on these hangars have been going up 3% a year in our fees and fines that we do annually. It's gone up 3% pretty regularly every year since we started building additional T hangars. And for those that aren't familiar, the T hangar is essentially the same as a single car garage for a car. They're not heated. Some of them have power, some don't, and it's very basic. There's no extras there. So it's It's strictly for aircraft storage out of the elements. Councillor McCurry, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So one of the things that we've done since we've had a better handle on assets here at the city of Bradford is talking about lifetimes. And we replace trucks when they get to the end of their lifetime. I think the original hangars were built in about 1940 probably. So they're beyond their useful lifetime, I'm sure, in terms of our nomenclature. What lifetime do we expect these T hangars to have?
Councillor, I'll have to bring that information back to you in memo.
Thank you.
Mayor Davis, second time.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. How long is the waiting list? Two staff, three, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that question.
How long is the waiting list?
We have over 20. It fluctuates between 18 and 25, depending. So we have more folks on the waiting list than we will be building with this particular project. Even when we extend even the previously approved project to extend the existing stub hangar, when we add 17. We have had a waiting list larger than 17 for several years.
So why don't we charge rent based on what the market can bear, and increase the rents to see what impact that has on the waiting list. And if it doesn't, then it tells you that the market will pay more than $485.
That's a suggestion that we'll bring back to our real estate friends in terms of how we are approaching the rent and the leasing of this. And if there's an appropriate change in consultation with the airport board, we'll bring an amendment to the fees and charges bylaw.
Well, I'd certainly suggest you consider it, because that helps defend us from allegations that, well, many of the allegations made about the airport. I mean, if those who are using the T hangars and using the field and these runways and paying fees and stuff, I mean, that's great, but really we should be charging the rent that the market does bear and does allow. So anyways, look forward to receiving additional reports. Thanks.
If I could just maybe respond to that for Mr. Cox, Brian Hutchings, CEO. We do have a real estate division who's not here tonight, Ron Gasparetto and Leslie McGee. And we hired Leslie last year, and she's done a review of all our leases and is still in process of all that, but still looking at all leases. And as Mr. Cox said earlier, there was a specific review of the T hangars, and Mr. Cox said they are in the market range. They did go up 3% this year in the fees and charges bylaw, and they're still under review, and we find they're in a competitive range. So they're not being undercharged or overcharged. We're right kind of in the middle of the delta. So to your question about price elasticity, we could try to do that, try to increase rates and see if people come or not. But right now we could put it in the higher quartile. Right now we're the median in the range, and we'll review that and look at the fees and charges bylaw to increase them if we can raise them.
Well, I would say in response to that, Mr. Chair, the only way you really know is by doing it. And if we have owners that are coming to us because if we have owners coming to us because we apparently are the low cost on the market, why would you let a market study hold you back from doing what the market's telling you should do based on your waiting list?
I'd like to comment on that. The part of the reason why we have a big waiting list is airports like Hamilton are pushing out general aviation. So they're looking for someplace to go. And Brantford is in a good position to capture a lot of that market. So I think we're far better off building additional T hangars and capturing that market than raising the rents and having them look somewhere else. It's also a model that we need to start looking at for commercial hangars. There's quite a bit of interest for commercial hangar space at the airport. And one of the things that we'd love to see at the airport is to have Conestoga find a new home for their operation that's in our newest hangar out there and return that to an aviation use. But until Conestoga finds a location for that program, we're kind of in the situation where we're continuing to rent to them until such time as they find a better location so that we can convert that back to aviation use. Anything further on this item? Seeing none. Okay, brings us to 7D25, I believe. So we've caught up all the ones we missed. And I believe Mayor Davis, you requested this one. Market Street Parkade, TRVA.
Yeah, I did. Thanks, Mr. Chair. So, three, Mr. Chair, I think probably to Rick, are you answering the questions on this one? Yeah, there's a lot of what this money is going for. Extra security, extra cameras, that sort of thing. Aren't we already doing that? Like, so what additional security measures will we have at the parkade with these additional monies?
Yes, that's correct. Through the chair, Mr. Mayor, this money is going to be targeted really on the items A, B, C, and D under list number 1 in the detail sheet. So things like wire fencing and barriers to enclose points of access that haven't been, that are causing problems. We have already, through separate projects, added CCTV coverage, a separate project for the access control and security guards, as you know. So a number of the other items that are listed here as being identified through the threat risk vulnerability assessment have been addressed in other ways, but this particular work is going to focus on, as I said, item 1, A, B, C, and D, and also on replacing some of the doors.
Yeah, because some questions I often get about the parkade is put more cameras in there. Is because of the cameras we put in there, are there any areas that we really aren't already now covering with cameras?
You're right. We had done a pretty strong analysis of the areas where cameras were needed and have deployed cameras to meet those gaps. So we have pretty good coverage of the parkade with CCTV coverage right now.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Carpenter.
Thank you. Rick, you said we got pretty good coverage in there. So the things that have been happening in there, have we got someone that's monitoring that on a regular basis, or is it just that we got video coverage that we can look back and review?
Through the chair to the councillor, there's a bit of both. We do have 24-hour security in the parkade that when they're not out on patrol, they're in the office and able to see live coverage of the different areas of the parkade. But we also have the ability to go and retrieve footage and have over the last number of months done a much better job of being able to provide law enforcement with footage they can use to issue trespass notices or convictions. It's been a remarkable upturn in the success of that since the new cameras were rolled out.
And how long have the new cameras been in there? And another question. Well, I'll ask that question first.
They were completed in around November of last year.
Okay. Now, does that cover the hallways too and the elevators?
Yes.
Okay. And so we've had concerns. I hear them often about the parkade. People don't feel safe there, but the smell of urine and so forth. Are they cleaned regular so that that's not the case?
Through the chair, yeah, there is janitorial in that in the parkade every day, 7 days a week, doing that work, and it's a continual effort.
And I applaud you on putting screening up to prevent all the different access points in the parkade. It makes those many accesses should prevent a lot of the undesirable things from happening in that parkade. Is that the point?
Yes, that's the point. There are lots of nooks and crannies in the parkade where folks can hang out, and by putting up some of the commercial grade wire fencing that's identified in the assessment, we will be able to reduce those areas and make them harder to access.
And in the warmer months, the market has outside market vendors, and usually it used to be pretty full, but I think we're probably up to rates, and we have some people not there now. But there might be an opportunity to use some of the parkade that's right attached to the market itself as a vendor use in the better weather. We ever considered that?
Through the chair, that has been identified as a potential. Yes, the the economic development and tourism team are managing the operations of the farmers market and have lots of plans to, over the next while, build the market back to where it used to be in terms of the exposure and things that are going on there.
Oh, great to hear. Thank you.
Seeing nothing further on this one, we move on to 7D29, reference page 93, Mohawk Pavilion Building and Site Improvements. Mayor Davis.
Thanks. So this work, when will the work be done? Is it so designing it now and doing it next year, or are we going to be doing it this year?
Through the chair to you, Mayor Davis, we will be looking into design this year and potentially construction in 2023.
Okay. And just to highlight, what for the frequent users of Mohawk Park, what are they going to see that's new and improved?
Through the chair to you, Mayor Davis, through this capital project, it's for upgrades to the main pavilion building. So there's some issues with surface water, with the foundation, as well as the HVAC system and roofing.
Yeah, will it make it more user friendly? I know at some time there was a push to use it for things like weddings, but it turned out it really wasn't adequate for that.
That is correct. The installation of potential installation of air conditioning will make that building more user friendly during the summer months.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Councilor Carpenter.
Thank you. And thanks for those answers, Jennifer. I noticed that you're talking about acoustics. That's one of the worst acoustic places I've ever been in for the echo, and it's very difficult to do anything there. So is that what that's going to do? Reduce the echo as part of the redevelopment of the inside of that?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Carpenter. Yes, that is a portion of this capital project to look into the design of the acoustics.
And I know Councillor Martin would ask this if I don't ask it. Are you looking at when you're doing the new roof on the shingling, or are you looking at steel shingles for longevity?
That is correct. When we move into design, we will be looking at multiple different options and which is the most cost effective for lifespan.
Yeah, and keeping in mind that it's surrounded by oak trees, and oak trees have an aesthetic approach to the asphalt shingles. All right, yes. Thank you. But we're not talking about putting this has got nothing to do with a gazebo or any of the other requests that have been from Mohawk Park for some time.
That is correct, Councillor Carpenter. There's separate line items for the pavilion, the gazebo upgrades.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Seeing nothing further, we'll move on to item 30, reference page 94, Animal Control Building. Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to staff. We've got $3 million in 2023, but when I'm reading the description, it looks like there was $350,000 allocated in previous budgets, but it says that design, site plan, construction plans have yet to be developed, as well as architectural renderings are not complete. So I guess my question is it realistic to assume that the build of this building would actually happen in this fiscal year where the $3 million is allocated?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Hunt. Yes, we have an RFP has gone out where we have a prime consultant on board. Class D estimate has been received. We will be moving into detailed design with the anticipation of construction beginning near the end of this year and completion into 2024.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Hunt stole a little bit of my thunder there, but with you mentioning that it would be completing in 24, could we not then split the costs for 23 and 24 then, as opposed to all coming out in 23?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Sullivan, in which to put out the form of tender and award, we would need that full value in which to award the PO to the successful contractor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor McCurry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You can tell me if you can't answer this in public, but have we fully rationalized our operation in this building yet?
I'm going to defer to our general manager of PLSP for that answer.
That's a good thing you stuck around.
Through the chair, Heidi DeVries, General Manager of People, Legislated Services and Planning, and I'm here with Ian Harrower, who's the project manager on the operations side. It's a great question. So no, we haven't finalized that. Mr. Harrower was part of the original request for this project, and he's been working on this for the past year, and there will be a report forthcoming to council in March. To committee of the whole to consider the operating portion, which would then further inform the design portion that you're hearing about here this evening.
So the design portion won't get underway for a while, if I read between the lines.
So through the chair, and I can refer this back to our friends in PW, but we do have a skeletal outline of what we would want to see. That on that basis, we are seeking a Class D estimate, but there are some design parameters that are going to be informed by the programming. So what type of services do you hope to offer from this facility? And are there other sort of adjacencies that we could realize, other needs within the corporation that you might want to add on, given the space that we have within these lands? So those are some of the refinements that would come forward through this process.
Now, can you remind me of the classes of estimates? Class D estimates, they're the ones that go up by 50%. Class C go up by 25. Is that how you account for those?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary. No, that would not be a correct analogy. It's more of a plus or minus 20%.
Yeah, the Class D estimate is just based upon guess at number of square feet times the cost per average square foot.
It's more of a high level per square footage, where then it gets refined further down.
Now, with respect to the contract that we will be entering into with this architect, can we be absolutely certain that the language is crystal clear that that's all they get, and that if they drag the project out, we're not paying them anymore?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary, it is rather difficult. We do need to fully define the areas and the space needs in which we need to have priced. So if we can adequately define that, then yes.
But what I'm saying is, can we ensure that the contract that our design team gets, the architects and engineers, is all inclusive and not subject to increase based upon construction delays for which they are responsible?
It is a rather difficult. We will attempt to do that and maintain that level. It is just rather difficult with market instabilities and any sorts of changes that would be requested after the posting.
It's hard to imagine an organization like the Corporation of the City of Brantford being taken advantage of, but we've certainly been taken advantage of some of these folks in past, and it'd be good if we could try to avoid that.
Correct.
Anything further on this item? Seeing none, we'd had item 38 separated and then the requester canceled. Does anybody else wish to speak to fleet replacement building department services? Reference page 102. Seeing none, we'll move on to number 49. Councillor Sluss, this is the full quarter reconstruction, Ave, Palmerston and Ave and street configuration.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you to it, Jen, is there going to be a public engagement portion of this design? Like we're designing, for those just watching, the end, how we're cutting off Ada and Palmerston onto Brant Ave. Aesthetically, that could look really nice or it could look really bad. But for the folks that live there, I think they would like it to look really nice. Would they be engaged and have input into this final design?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Sless, we do have a consultant on board. We have a couple of options that have been presented to us. And yes, we would be bringing that forward to the ward councillors as well as the affected residents.
So there would be an information session on looking at options.
That is correct. Whether it be virtual or in person, that is still up for debate.
Okay, I would prefer if you want my nickels worth, it should be in person. You get better participation. And secondly, the park at Palmerston and Brant Ave, will that be enlarged because of this project?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Sless, you mean the children's park there? Will it be increased?
We're taking in a chunk now that it's not part of the park, but it could be part of the park.
That is, I could see how that could be assumed. It's just unfortunately with the turning radiuses of vehicles that would need to be able to adequately turn at the end, it does not allow for an increase of the park.
So the park will remain intact.
Correct. It may reduce in size slightly.
And this project would be completed in 23?
That is the intention, just as we move through the detailed design and find the appropriate approved alternative. If that is an increased cost, then perhaps not, but the intent is for it to be completed in 2023.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else on this item? Okay, next item, Mayor Davis, full corridor reconstruction. Item 50, reference page 116, Colburn-Dalhousie intersection roundabout construction.
Yeah, so my question is, so this is going to be a roundabout. I got that straight. And where exactly is it? Is it that intersection that was in front of the old Canadian Tire?
Through the chair to you, Mayor Davis, that is correct. It is the junction or the split of Colburn and Dalhousie.
So will the split become a roundabout, or is it just further down, like about 100 yards further down where you come out of the old Canadian Tire lot?
It encompasses both. It encompasses the signalized intersection for the old Canadian Tire lot, as well as the large island of the split where Colburn and Dalhousie split.
Great. So the first roundabout at an established intersection.
That is correct.
Very glad to hear of it. And when will people see it and be able to drive through it and run around in circles?
As we move forward through the detailed design, we will be working with this detailed design for the entirety of the downtown improvement area so that we can holistically design all of the infrastructure and utilities underneath so that we're not ripping out a roundabout or asphalt that we have just placed. So we will be moving through that detailed design in 2023. And once we figure out all of the phasing, then we would move in and identify the construction date.
All right, and if we're on the subject of roundabouts, I see that later on there's the talk of the intersection at Clarence. I think it's Clarence, is it Henry?
Clarence and West and Clarence and Henry?
Yeah.
No, West and Henry, I apologize.
Yeah, West and Henry. Any possibility of that being used, roundabout being used in there?
That intersection has not been assessed for a roundabout. However, we are very constrained with property on that intersection.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to staff. I had a couple of questions. First of all, the construction of the roundabout. So this is going to be the first roundabout in the city of Brantford. And I understand that we require real estate, which we have for this particular intersection. However, the impact of there's a business that is at the very end of where our property is. How long would construction of this roundabout take? Which has the potential to severely impact that business.
Mm-hmm. Through the chair to you, Councillor Hunt. we are in a semi-ideal situation at that intersection where we do not require a property purchase for the roundabout. With construction, generally, we would be anticipating 1 year of construction. Now that will be further refined as we move into the detailed design, depending on the infrastructure below ground.
Okay, thank you. And then just a quick follow-up. The detail sheet refers to bringing the intersection up to current city standards and AODA requirements. Can you just expand on what the AODA requirements are for that intersection?
Yep. Through the chair to you, Councillor Hunt, the AODA regulations for that intersection, that would include the sidewalk widths, that would include the dropped curb for mobility access, as well as tactile plates.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Sloss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Jen. Jen, there's a certain portion of the community that can't wait for roundabouts to happen, and there's another portion that are terrified they're going to happen. Is there a educational component as we start to insert roundabouts in various locations of the city? I ask this because my wife is one of those that's terrified of getting involved in one and not knowing how to get off and maybe spend the rest of her life there. And people are concerned with those types of things. And I'm just wondering, is there an educational component that will go along with this to kind of alleviate some of the apprehension that many have?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Sloss, yes, we can look at an educational component. There are many videos and additives that we could add to our city's website.
I'll give her your home number. Thank you.
Just to add, Councillor Celeste to the chair, there's also an opportunity not to open the whole roundabout all at once. If there are 2 lanes in each direction, you can always funnel it to 1 lane, get people used to it, and then open up to 2 lanes and whatnot. So there's things you could do on the ground as well to help with that. And we'll look at all of that.
Councillor McCurry.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to staff. I think this is actually our second roundabout, is it not, if you include the Home Depot roundabout?
There is a circular island at the Home Depot that does semi-function as a roundabout. However, there is a roundabout being built within the Winfield West subdivision.
Now, as one proceeds out of the roundabout eastbound, you come upon a couple of times a day student traffic crossing illegally, and it's, they're pretty spry, and I think in its current condition, they can probably get clear of most of the cars. But as people are coming out of that roundabout eastbound, they may not completely be cognizant of safety. Is the detailed design going to consider perhaps a fence barrier down the median like we did in West Brant across from Assumption School? Is that something that you might think about to deter folks from getting run over by jaywalking?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCurry, at this point in time, there is not a median is being proposed within the center of the road with fencing, but we will be looking at the pedestrian movement through there and the pedestrian crossings.
Yeah, I think that needs a good hard look, Jen. We don't want anybody run over, certainly. Thank you.
Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Further to Councillor McCurry's comments, I've noticed, especially in Cambridge, where they have these roundabouts, they fill up the center of the roundabouts with gardens and trees and everything, where you can't see on the other side of it. And I find that problematic. And I'm just wondering, are we going to avoid that, where you can actually see the vehicles entering the roundabouts?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Sullivan, we will look at that. It is one of the design parameters of a roundabout to have plantings in the center in which to block headlights coming at the other vehicles. However, we will look at that with sightlines.
Okay, yeah, because if we can keep it at a level where you're still blocking the headlights, but you can still see the vehicles, I think that would be best for everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is number 52, reference page 118, Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and you're doing a fine job on a very busy schedule tonight. Thank you very much. To staff, this is a Freeborn Ave, full reconstruction corridor. I'm looking at the dead end of Freeborn Ave. The sewers are difficult, and we're pumping them out on a regular basis to prevent surcharges and from lateral problems for backing up. So it's great that we're doing this. That street is pretty narrow, and we're going to provide some walls, retaining walls along those homes that are on the hill there.
Through the chair to you, Councillor Carpenter. Yes, that will be looked at during the design.
Now, in the design, since we own the property east of it, the Airedale Park, will we be constructing a proper turning circle at the end of Freeborn, that dead end of Freeborn Ave? So when you go up there, you can actually turn around and come back out without having to back all the way down the street?
When we move through detailed design, we can look at that and how to properly turn vehicles, either 3-point turn or cul-de-sac. It will require property transfer because we do not have enough right of way.
We have the right of way to the right of that, to south of that street.
Yes, we do own that property, correct.
So it could be a hammerhead or just a different design that moves us into the area there. And at the same time, the trees there, which formed part of the course before, are well overgrown, and we've had to trim them on a regular basis. We'll be removing some of those to clear the sight lines and then replacing proper fencing along there as part of that design, or maybe we can get some of that funds from the Airedale Park itself.
Any of the tree impacts will be looked at through the detailed design. We have not gotten to that point as of yet.
Because most of them are scrub trees and have just grown wild in there, and simply, right. I think right now we have a homeless shelter in there right now with some folks currently because of its availability, and because we've taken down the fence to the park access. Now I don't recall getting my comment on that, but that's okay. So that this whole reconstruction will happen, and you said talk about access to people's homes. Access to people's homes. When Freeborn comes out onto Brock Street, will that intersection? We looked at intersection for improvements. I raised some concerns about that whole intersection of Freeborn, Brock, and Elgin before. Will that form part of that review?
That is correct. The design goes all the way from Brock through Rawdon to the dead end of the cul-de-sac. The access that it is speaking of in that detail sheet is to the 3 homes that have frontage onto the dead end portion of Freeborn.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'd like to make sure that same as Councillor Slessa, that we have some kind of consultation with the residents, and I'm quite happy with a hybrid, so that those that can't attend in person can actually attend online. And happy to attend and facilitate that with you. So thank you very much, and I'm glad this is on the list. Thank you.
Seeing nothing further on this one, Councillor Carpenter, you have the next one, number 55, reference page 122, Locks Road.
Sorry, thank you. I had to get to the page on my screen here. Okay, thank you. Now this project is from Locks. It's just one block from Locks to Glenwood, is it not?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Carpenter. Yes, that is correct.
Now, are we looking at the intersection where it hits Coleman Street? We're looking at to widen that in a way, because I notice quite often if there's a transport truck in that lane, it's heavily used by transport trucks because it goes by the landfill and into the industrial area in Ward 5. And when they come up the hill and they get there when they pass through that intersection, they get to Coleman Street, there isn't room for other traffic to be turning left, as well as someone making a right-hand turn. Is that intersection going to be looked at for the transport truck being able to facilitate that? So there's 2 vehicles on the northbound lanes?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Carpenter. Yes, we will look at that intersection. We are constrained with property.
Yeah, and we must own some property as far as the sidewalks. Will sidewalks be part of this discussion?
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
Seeing no other questions on this, Councillor Sluss, you have the next one. 56, reference number 123, Buffalo Street.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, 56 and 57 combined. I just wanted reassurance that we had made a commitment to Weinarden that we would be doing the court or street adjacent to the property that runs down to, I believe, Usher we would incorporate that into these projects, but I don't see no mention of it. Can I get assurance that that is happening? And could I get a timeline on that, please?
Yep, through the chair to you, Councillor Sless. Yes, there is assurance. It is on, I believe you can see it on the Usher and Rushton line item. I added a line item into the details to include Wynarden Court into that assessment. So at this time, we are moving to detailed design in 2023 with construction scheduled for 2025.
Okay, and the other project in that area, the Buffalo Street, what is the timeline on that one?
That is the same timeline.
It's
It would be all encompassing for cost value.
our 56 and 57. That's Buffalo, Rushton to west, and Usher. And then the second one is Usher, and et cetera. Are they all being done at the same time?
So they would all be designed at the same time because they're all interlinked.
Right.
Once we finish the detailed design, we will figure out if there's phasing required due to the limits and the amount of work that's required. And then we will further refine that budget that you'll see in 2024.
Okay, because I don't think I'm not an engineer, but I don't think you want to shut down that entire area, and that would happen if you tried to do that as one project.
That is correct.
Yes.
There is a lot of streets in that one little blocked area.
Right.
So yes, phased construction would be more ideal.
Okay, and ideally, the Wynarden would be in the first phase.
Through the chair to you, Councillor Sless, it all depends on which way the sewers are going, correct? Like the most
They're downhill.
but depending in which, if they're going west or east, let's say, so it all depends. Proper sewer construction should be coming from the lowest and working its way up.
Okay.
So we will
That'll
refine
be
that.
determined once you're into it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So that was 56 and 57? Are there any other questions, comments on that? Okay, Mayor Davis, item 58. Downtown infrastructure revitalization.
No question on that.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, Councilor McCreary, you have the next one. 66, reference number 136. Maintenance and storage facility redevelopment at Gretzky Center.
Chair, thank you very much.
Golf center, I guess.
Yeah, this is the golf course. So I'm pleased to see that we are presenting a better face to the community. Thank you to staff for getting rid of the brush dump a while ago. Much appreciated. And now the only black eye on the appearance is that old Quonset hut. So it'll be good to see that going to the back of the shop and presenting a better face. Do we require any pre-engineering, Mr. Cox?
I will answer in place of Rick Cox, through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary. There is pre-design that is required, that is in the works at the moment.
Is it going to be a more attractive structure than the one we currently use? Or is that eye of the beholder?
It is all in the eye of the beholder, and we will be working on better screening of the area.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Sless.
Thank you. So we're putting, just so I'm clear, we're putting a new Quonset hut where the old Quonset hut is currently?
Through the chair, the intent is to reuse the area where the existing Quonset hut is. Whether it will be another Quonset hut hasn't yet to be determined. I imagine it'll probably be a different shape.
But a metal building.
Depends on the design, how we go. But we want it to be durable, and we want it to be discreet and appropriate to the space, and we want it to be usable. In a Quonset hut, that as it's shaped, you lose a lot of usable space because of the curve of the roof. Right. So by going with a different shape and a different structure style, we'll be able to make better use of it, and in fact use this particular spot as a marshalling point to support parks work in the whole quadrant, not just the golf course.
Okay. May I suggest that we could do a lot with paint and some creative painting. to make it look a lot better, and a few gallons of paint is a lot more maybe cost effective than some of the ideas we come up with. We've got some pretty creative artists and people in the community that might be able to do something on a building like that would make it quite appealing, but very appropriate to the location that it's in. So it's something to bear in mind as we go through. Thank you.
Okay, seeing nothing further on that one. Number 68, reference 138, trail safety improvements. Mayor Davis.
No question. My question's been answered already. Thank you.
Seeing no other questions. Okay. 141, Wayne Gretzky 25-meter pool filter replacement. Let me just find my notes on this one. If I remember right, it said something in the detailed sheets about having trouble acquiring parts for the existing filters. Will this be converted over to a filter that's more modern, that it has parts more available?
Through the chair, to answer your question, yes, we will be certainly replacing this with something that we can get parts for. The company that built this particular unit is out of business and they're not making the replacement parts. So the consumables that we need to replace on an annual basis, we can't get them. The last batch we had to order from Australia and it took months to get here. So we need to replace it in an organized way rather than wait for it to be a failure and we're shutting the pool down. And that's what this project is all about. We will certainly be doing something that is going to give us a longer trajectory in its life cycle.
So hopefully you'll be using a company that has a longer track record and will hopefully be in business for a while.
That's our hope. Can't predict the course of business, perhaps, but we certainly hope that we'll be doing something that's less proprietary, or perhaps a little bit more, give us a few more alternatives, or has like in a car, maybe some additional aftermarket suppliers of parts that may not be. Even if the main company goes out, there might be an alternative supplier of parts. This particular one that we have, there wasn't enough out there to make it viable business for another supplier to step in and continue to make the parts that we need.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further questions. Next item is number 72. Park Services Minor Capital, Councillor Hunt.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to staff. So I understand this to be kind of a catch-all budget for minor repairs, as it says. And I'm assuming that this figure of $175,000 for 2023 was actually probably a similar figure in 2022. What I'm wondering is, there was a project to be done at JC Park, drainage on the Red Diamond. And the neighborhood association, from my understanding, thought that project was going to be completed actually in the fall of 2022. So can you speak to whether the funds have been committed for that project, or if we're looking at that being a 2023 project now?
Through the chair, to the councillor, we're looking at that being a 2023 project, councillor. There are a number of reasons that it didn't come to fruition in the fall of 2022 as we'd hoped. As you can imagine, things have increased in cost. So things that we had planned to achieve with our 2022 allocation, we needed to scale some of that back to accommodate the prices increases on each of the individual components. And that was one that we left for 2023 to accommodate some of the other stuff that was already underway. But we do very much intend to get the drainage project at JC completed in 2023.
And just further to that, could you give me an idea of when in 2023, just knowing that the ball diamonds and specifically the neighborhood association leagues start in early May?
Actually, we were speaking about that through the chair. We were speaking about that just the other day internally, Councillor, and debating about whether it would be, given the lack of frost we've seen this winter, whether it would be possible to have the work done before the season and allow the fields to heal in time for them to be ready for May startup. And so we are looking very much at seeing whether it's possible to get that work done in ahead of the season, or whether we would at this point decide to wait until after the season again. It will depend on what the weather is over the next several weeks as to whether that makes sense and is possible or not.
Okay, it is a major concern of the neighborhood association, because we do end up with a significant amount of rainouts. It could rain on Monday and games are being canceled on Wednesday because the drainage is so poor at the Red Diamond there. So yeah, I would certainly, encourage you at all if we can get it done before the beginning of May. This has been a chronic problem at this diamond for years. So I would appreciate that consideration. Thank you.
Seeing nothing further for this item. 78, reference page 148. Councillor McCurry, the playground rehabilitation replacement program.
Sure. Thank you. Through you to staff. Thanks very much for refitting so many Ward 3 playgrounds this year. Is your plan to conduct the engagement with the neighborhoods over the winter?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary, for the 2023 build playgrounds, the virtual engagement is already occurring, and I believe it closes this week.
Okay, and what's the nature of that?
Of the engagement?
Mm-hmm.
So it is engagement with a few options and say color choices, and then the neighborhood can engage and pick the preferred alternative.
Our standard of care at one time was to conduct in-person meetings with the neighborhood kids in general, communicated through the schools. Are we going to be doing that?
That is correct. So okay. With, say, Silverbridge Park, there was notices given to the school for engagement with the school. We have noted in the last few years over the pandemic that we do receive a greater reception through our online engagement tools.
I think for the Ward 3 engagements, it'd be preferable to have the hybridized meetings so that those who wish to come out and socialize can do so.
Mm-hmm.
If we could arrange that, okay.
We can look into that, yes.
Thank you.
Seeing nothing further on this item. Rotary Centennial.
Sorry, Councillor Martin, I got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
My video is acting up there. Yeah, so the question I have is in reference to the playground redesign. I understand, of course, consulting with the neighborhood kids. What about some of the other neighborhood potential users like seniors who might want something that's not what kids want? Might be shade, might be more park benches. What about building that into the consultation?
Through the chair to you, Mayor Davis. Yes, we do look at that during the design. We provide shade structures, we provide seating locations, as well as viewing areas so that, say, seniors could attend with their grandchildren, and that is included in the design and put forward for the neighborhood engagement.
All right. And what about considering, let's say, the diversity of any particular neighborhood? And the diversity in and of itself may call for certain attributes or features which might not be considered in some other neighborhood parks. What about that?
Sorry, yes, that is correct. For each neighborhood, it is looked at when we move through to conceptual design and detailed design. For example, say the Woodman Playground is more of a youth focused instead of like a toddler focus playground. So we do look at the dynamics of the area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that, Jennifer. I too like the hybrid model, so I appreciate that. And you probably heard a lot from our residents, Councillor Hunt and I, on about Silverbridge Park. They've been very active for some time. It's been a park that's been long overdue, and we're doing that work. But I wanted to remind you that there was a resolution went through council that said we would also consult with the principal of Banbury Heights School, and I would like to also consult with the school board or whoever's in charge of facilities for the school, for that school, because they are doing renovations to their daycare there, and we'd like to make sure whatever we're doing there that we work. There's some synergies by working together, and we may be able to deal with parking problems and parking issues as we deal with that park at the same time. I just want to put that out there for you. And with the Woodmen, for example, the concern would be the pool is coming forward, but there has been no consultation with residents about the pool, because I understand we had to get the design in because of the grant, but the playground equipment. So when we put that together, I'd like to have some kind of consultation that beyond simply just the picking of the playground equipment, which has already happened, I know, and then went very well, but about what the actual park will look like and the space behind it. Thank you.
Now, seeing nothing further on this, I'm going to move on to item 80. Councillor Sluss, Rotary Centennial Waterworks Park parking lot.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Rick. Rick, we've had a few discussions about the parking lot down at Rotary Park, and it's kind of a moving target, and the price kind of fluctuated, and everything kind of went a little sideways on us, and it didn't get done when maybe we thought it would. But I'm a little confused in the background material. It says $600,000 will be, we're short, an additional 600,000 would be needed. But when I look, we've got 800 already approved and 350 in this year's budget. So that's 1.150 million. Is that the budget that's needed to get this done this year?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Sluss, on behalf of Rick Cox. It's a lot of names. For the construction of the Waterworks Park parking lot, the estimate that we have received is $1 million. There's a lot of complexities with that site, as you know, for drainage and bioswales and dealing with stormwater runoff. So that $350,000 that is listed is the funds required in which to put that out for tender to complete.
So the 350 is in addition to what's been approved last year?
Prior approved, correct.
Okay. And does that increases the number of vehicles that can park, correct? We're taking part of the I don't know what you'd call it.
We're not expanding over to the transit facility.
We're going to go the other way a little bit, are we not?
Correct. It's
Yes.
going into the green space a
Yes.
little bit, but we will be adding in bioswales and more planting and hedging. And this will, I believe in total, there will be 75 parking spaces.
And how many are there currently?
That I do not know off the top of my head because they are not marked parking spaces. It's
Right.
more of a gravel.
But that would be an
Area.
increase though from what's currently there.
That is correct.
Okay, because the word I was looking for was boulevard. There's kind of a boulevard on the, as you drive in on your left-hand side.
Correct.
That part of that will be taken up to be able to park both ways,
Correct.
correct? Okay. And that's a this year project?
Yes, sir.
Can we don't need that in writing.
Oh.
Got it. Thank you.
Mayor Davis.
Yeah, I want to thank staff very much because badly needed, and frankly, I've got a truck designed for off-roading, and sometimes I'm reluctant to park in that parking lot, those huge potholes. It's great to see it's going to be done. But I noticed in the workup, it talked about the change of the scope of work, and that in part due to the extra amount that has to be allocated. I assume part of it's inflation. Is this the use of some of the boulevard? Is that the expanded scope of work, or is there more to that?
Through the chair to you, Mayor Davis, that is for the stormwater component, the stormwater management. So that would be the bioswales that we will be installing on if you're driving into the parking lot, on the left-hand side of the parking lot.
Yeah, where does the stormwater drain from that parking lot?
No, the topography of that area is very flat. Plus, there's also the constraints of the Homedale Canal, the water intake canal, which is a sensitive area that you cannot drain any additional water into.
So where's the stormwater going to go?
Into the bioswales and back into the groundwater.
All right, last question. Last summer, we decided that the Waterworks Park will become a cricket field of a different design and nature than what's in there now. Have you considered that in doing the design and plans for the parking lot?
Through the chair, I'll pick up on that, Mr. Mayor. The dimensions and shapes of the parking lot won't really be affected by the use of the field for more cricket. We do anticipate the need for this improved parking to accommodate the additional traffic we anticipate from improving the cricket play there. But there isn't an element to the parking lot design that is required or generated. We're maximizing the parking that we can, and that's really all we can do to support the cricket that's going to hopefully come there.
Great, thanks very much. Great to hear it. Thanks.
Councillor McCreary.
Mr. Chair, thank you. So would persons of a certain age think of a bioswale as a drainage ditch?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary, it's a more in-depth, it's a ramped up, let's say, heightened drainage ditch.
That's very encouraging. This would be on the side of the transit terminal?
No, this is on the side of the playing fields.
How does one traverse the bioswale to play cricket?
So the bioswales are not ditched as like a what you would see, say, on the side of Power Line Road.
Out in the county.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, that's a city road now, but yes, but it is more level, and there will be walking paths and paths meandering around.
So the bioswale, is it engineered? Does it have like a base?
That is correct. It does
like
have
a pit run
material
base?
underneath. Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, brings us to item 81. Mayor Davis. Clarence Street South Rail realignment.
My question is, how are you going to do this? Is there a plan to do it? Because I seem to recall that this is obviously quite challenging to do and could involve movement of the rail line or is this some sort of temporary measure to reduce the gap between the pavement and the rail?
Through the chair to you, Mayor Davis, we currently have a low value quote request out for a feasibility study and identifying potentials of shifting the rail line. This line item would be any additional studies, geotechnical, things along those lines that are required to move into that preferred alternative.
Well, at one point there was talk of maybe a different interaction, so to speak, with the rail line and the pavement that would allow you to keep the rail line where it is, but reduce the likelihood of bicycles or motorcycles getting caught in that gap.
That will be looked at through the feasibility study if no alternative of shifting the rail exists.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Councillor Hunt.
Thank you. And through the chair to staff, we don't currently own that rail line. So what would be required if there was a study that came out that said it should be moved? Is that correct?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Hunt, you are correct. There is joint use of that intersection through the rail line that is privately owned in the city's right of way. We are working with the rail owner throughout this process.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, item 83, reference 153, Councillor Carpenter, road resurfacing program.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to highlight the staff, the terrific answers to all the questions and a lot of good questions from my councillor colleagues. And anybody viewing online would see how engaged our staff are and how much work they do. But so I just have to say that how impressed I've been so far in this tonight's report. Now we're about halfway through. This is a road resurfacing. Is this pave and shave? Or shave and pave, I should say.
Through the chair to you, Councillor Carpenter. Yes, that is the analogy of a shave and pave situation.
Yeah, so I know the park, we just got through the park that was almost 1.1, almost $1.2 million, but we've got only $1.6 million for pave and shave and pave. I just want to say, is Banbury Road in there anywhere? We're just trying to find out why that street that's so full of potholes is not on the list anywhere. And we get concerns from our residents, Councillor Hunt and I, and before that, Councillor Tosca complaints all the time. We did one end of Banbury, gosh, maybe almost 5 or 6 years ago now, and we haven't done the other end for some reason.
Through the chair to you, Councillor Carpenter. Yes, Banbury is on our radar. However, we're looking at holistically designing because there has been identifications of stormwater, storm sewer increases required. So we are looking into that road.
Yeah, do we know when we might see some action on that particular road, for example?
I do not know the date, but it is coming up very shortly, if not within the next year. I'd say 1 to 5 years.
We created a matrix to, as I recall, going through the matrix design study, and that matrix is separate then for whether it needs water and sewer, because I just realized that just this past November we paved a couple of roads in a neighborhood near me, and they didn't seem very bad. In fact, they were nowhere near what Banbury is, and one of them had no potholes in it at all, but we shaved and paved it anyways. I just thought, well, we're using up a budget there, or I mean, did it meet the matrix that we've designed? I guess I'd like to see the matrix.
Sure.
Through the chair, Councillor Carpenter. So it's a tool. The matrix is a tool for staff when we're developing the budget. So for example, the roads that you speak of and the one that we need, we would look at the fact that if we were to shave and pave Banbury, but in a couple of years we need to fix the undergrounds, that would be a waste of money. So we look at it holistically from top to bottom, and the programs that you had mentioned about streets that are done, they may not require the undergrounds that are needed, so they do get prioritized with the funding that we have available. So if we have 1.6 million, and you mentioned one project is 1.2, we try to maximize the 1.6 with other projects and lump the 1.2s with the larger road reconstructions, full constructions, so that we don't have to go back and rip up anything that we've already put in.
And so would we have a matrix as well for the shave and pave then?
So that's based on the road condition assessment and the pavement index. So there's a condition assessment that we conduct throughout the whole city. Each road is then categorized in terms of its what's the word I'm looking for? It's like the pavement condition, so good, fair, poor, etc. And so those at a certain grade would be in the road resurfacing program, and then the program would be built out over several years. So it's difficult to say exactly what streets. We like to keep it kind of generic because others do come up, and the condition assessment obviously may show another street that's required more so than the others. So we keep it a bit generic that way. And then at the end of the program, if we do have funding available, whether through this or the reshaping of the crown, we can kind of fit in other streets towards the end of the program, the end of the year.
Yeah, I understand, but I'd like to understand the matrix more, because when we were explaining the matrix, it was, this is so councillors aren't saying we need to get this street done ahead of this street. The matrix was to give us some analysis to what street should go first. But I haven't quite, and I followed the logic here, and I supported the matrix, but I haven't seen that represented in my ward specifically. And even the street that did receive shaving and paving, that I could not find a crack or a pothole in. The residents that live on that street couldn't understand why it was shaved and paved, but it was, and it looks good, but it was. And I just trying to understand the matrix now. So I'd like to see the matrix on for this particular street that I'm talking about, because I've lost a little bit of confidence in that matrix, having seen what I've seen. Thank you.
Right. And through the chair, the matrix, like I said, is part of the tool when we conduct our workshops. It's really for staff to filter their projects to ensure that the projects that are being put forward are weighted against certain criteria. So that funding that's available in that pot that we have today, the 93 million, the projects that are filtered through that are the ones that we want to move forward with because of how they were weighted. Others may move, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's taking anything out of council's hand. It's actually the opposite. We're actually vetting this for staff so that staff are not putting in projects that may not be required. So for example, there's a Waterworks pavilion or Waterworks environmental project that would be very low on the asset management prioritization tool, but because it's fully funded by an outside agency, we've put it in here. So it just helps us filter and use the funding correctly and present a budget that's one that's fully funded, but also with those priorities that we do need.
And this project I'm talking about here, it's the 1.25 million. That's funded by that's the gas tax, the federal gas tax from the federal government.
Gone over your time, Councillor Carpenter, by a fair amount. We can put you back on the list if you like.
I can answer the question I just asked and then put me back on the list.
That's correct.
Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, just to add to my ward mate. So right now there has the residents of Banbury have received a consultation letter regarding traffic calming measures on Banbury Road. And I've received more than one call regarding why are we considering traffic calming measures when this section of the street has been long overdue for being paved. So through you to staff, where do we work so that one hand knows what the other hand's doing? We've got an area where residents are very concerned about the condition of their road, yet we're consulting them on traffic calming measures on the same street.
Through the chair, when it comes to traffic calming, typically what we do is a temporary traffic calming. So those rubber speed bumps, so they just be installed, and then we get information the following year. We redo speed studies and everything to ensure to see if it worked, get some additional information, and if we were to shave and pave or redo the road the following year, we could implement or add the traffic calming measures permanently.
Okay, so from the standpoint of a resident on Banbury that might be watching this, we would not be installing traffic calming measures on a street that needs to be repaved?
Through the chair, it depends on where you are with the cycle, but ultimately the intention in this first phase would be temporary traffic calming measures. And then should it be warranted after that, we could install the permanent traffic calming measures while we redo the road at the same time.
Okay, Councillor McCurry.
Chair, thank you. Do you know offhand if we have Winding Way on the schedule for resurfacing this year?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary. We're still in the process of vetting through. At this point in time, I do not see Winding Way.
Could you plumb the depths of your research and let us know if that's going to be on our radar in the next couple of years?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Mayor Davis.
Yeah, I wanted to add my voice to those of the Councillors of Ward 4. Having been all across the city last summer, I agree with them. Banbury is one of the worst roads in the city, and it's an embarrassment. And the sooner we get it resurfaced, the better. Frankly, I thought it was deteriorated to the point where maybe even a bit of a safety issue as well. And certainly I noticed that being quite close to the road with an electronic scooter device, experienced it. A little rough ride throughout Danbury and lots of complaints. Yeah, I echo their concerns and would certainly support action being taken on Danbury sooner rather than later.
Before I go to the second time speakers, I just have a comment to add to the staff's response. This is a perfect time to look at traffic calming because what we found with North Park Street is we put the bike lane lines on the base coat and we learned a lot of things from that. And it allowed us to make corrections. Once the top coat of asphalt went on, we had fresh paint where we wanted it instead of having to grind the paint off and redo it like we got stuck with on Memorial. So it's a perfect time to be deciding what kind of traffic calming you want there so that you can do a trial on the base coat if it's a full reconstruction. Councilor Carpenter, did you wish to speak a second time?
No, Mr. Chair, my wonderful ward mate, Councilor Hunt covered my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 85, stormwater, Dobney Forest Storm Pond cleanout. Councilor Sullivan.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to staff. Actually, this is 85 and 87. I'm just looking at the application for the grant. I'm just wondering when will we know whether or not we're receiving the grant for those two items?
Through the chair, Gagan Batra, Manager of Business Support and Sustainability. So both of these ones were submitted through Infrastructure Canada, which is federal funding, and they were submitted in September of 2022. Typically for Infrastructure Canada, they take about 4 to 8 months, which is a pretty wide window to let us know, but the funding would have to be used by 2024. So the hope is that we would know by the summer.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments on these two items? 85 and 87. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 88. Mayor Davis, Stormwater Mohawk Lake.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to staff for these are the oil grit separators that I think these are the second batch of oil grit separators, and for the newer councilors, it's a critical component of improving the water quality of Mohawk Lake, separating out the oil and grit from the stormwater through great huge cauldrons that we've actually invented here at the city, my understanding. So anyways, I think this is the 4, 5, and 6 of 11 in total, and it should improve the water quality by about 50% in Mohawk Lake. So I thank staff for keeping on track and moving forward with this program, which is important to improve the water quality of Mohawk Lake and thus all the other things we want to do in and around the lake. Thanks.
Councilor Carpenter.
Yes, I would agree with the mayor said. I was going to say the same things. I did separate this as well. Just the staff, how far along will we be on the cleanup and the final project for Mohawk Lake? And I think we got a meeting coming up for that, I recall.
I'm sorry, what was your last cost?
I think we have a meeting coming up regarding the Mohawk Lake too, do we not?
That is correct. Through the chair to you, Councillor Carpenter, we do have a neighborhood meeting coming up with the Mohawk Lake District area. I believe that's January 26th in the evening. Did you want to speak to that, Brian?
Just wanted to agree with you, January 26th. You're on a roll. Keep going.
In relation to the Mohawk Lake improvements, you are correct. We are moving through all of the recommendations. There is quite a lot of recommendations that came out of that study from the OGS, the oil grit separators. We did install 3 of them in 2021. This is for another 3 to be installed, locations to be determined as we move into detailed design. Separate from this capital line item, we do have other improvements from the original budgeted amount, which will be stormwater management pond, an offline stormwater management pond to be put out for tender and constructed this year, which is in Shallow Creek Park.
Thank you much, and I don't want to go past anything to do with Mohawk Lake without thanking both the past councils involved in this Mohawk Clean project. It was near and dear to my heart, but also I wanted to thank former MP Phil McCollum for getting us the grant to help us do this. Thank you.
Councilor McCurry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Where do these land? Where are these going to be located?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary, these three additional oil grit separators, the locations have not been identified. There were 14 locations identified in the plan. The three higher priority have already been installed. Now we will move into detailed design and identify the next three locations.
Do you know the locations of the ones already in place?
Oh, not off the top of my head. I believe there was one in and around Mohawk Park. There was another that was over on East Ave.
These are connected
area.
to the storm system, right?
That is correct. They are upstream of outlets into the canal and Mohawk Lake within the storm system.
And what's the annual operating cost?
I would defer to Selvi Congera from Environmental Services for that answer.
Through your chair to the councillor, our maintenance costs per OGS is around $3,000. So that's for inspection and cleaning the oil grit separator.
Thank you. Now, follow-up question: how often are they cleaned out?
Do you want me? I'm not sure. To you, Mr. Chair. So we do inspect them every year. And during inspection, we measure the depth of how much accumulation is there. Depending on the location, it could vary. Some we have to clean the same year, some 2 to 3 years. Sorry, we have our manager, Jim Young. Jim, you want to add anything?
Yes, thanks, Selvi. Through you, Mr. Chair. Right now, we've been inspecting them now for the last 18 months, and they've all been cleaned once already. And they were, they're filling at quite a high rapid rate. So we'll probably be doing it right now for the next little bit every year.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, Mary Davis.
Thanks. Yeah, the two of the three, one is on Forest Road. It's on the hill up from the canal. The other one's on Marion Iroquois Street. And it's really quite, I saw both being constructed, an ingenious design. And I'm glad to hear they're filling up faster than we anticipated, because that's exactly why we put them in there, to make sure that those materials don't go down and contaminate the lake. So all in all, great news. Thank you.
Okay, item 95, reference 165, Councillor Carpenter, reconstruction existing Bernida Industrial Park stormwater management pond.
I've got the answers to my questions, I think.
Thank you. Anyone else? 98, reference 168, Councillor McCreary, Forest Road drop structure at Hickory Place.
Sure, thank you. What's a drop structure?
Through you, Chair, to the councillor, drop structure is just a kind of a piece of a pipe, where you can say it's just a structure that allows water from a higher level height to flow to a lower level instead of just, a controlled fall. That's what it is.
So
Hope it makes sense.
So a drop structure is something that the water changes elevation and it's fully contained?
If I could say in a manhole, a drop structure where the water, without a drop structure, the water could fall like a 25-30 feet, and that depth of fall would affect the bottom of the manhole. So instead, we will have some kind of a guiding pipe kind of a structure that allows the water to fall on the base of the manhole without causing an impact.
Thank you for that.
Seeing nothing further, we'll move to item 100. Reference 170, Mayor Davis.
No question. I already asked it. Thanks.
Councillor Carpenter, I had you as separating this as well. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm just wanting to look up and pull my note. Oh yeah, this is the reconstruction of West Henry and Clarence Street operations. This, is this just the study to do it? This isn't actual, is this the work?
Through the chair, this is actually, we were originally going to replace the lights at West Street and Clarence Street and Henry Street, the intersection. But what's happening is engineering's doing a full replacement of the road in 3 years. So we're going to hold off. But what we're actually doing is going to replace those with the signalized intersections at Erie Ave and Eagle Ave and Erie Ave at Cayuga Street.
Yeah, because we're doing this in 2024. That's the clarity there.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And you do a fine job, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing nothing further on this, we had item 102. That was one I'd asked for.
You asked because staff asked.
Okay, that was the one that we had to change in the amendment done already. Okay. Takes us over the page to 107, Mayor Davis, street deleting traffic parking. Deluzzi Street and George Street.
I have no idea.
177.
I have no idea why I asked for it to be separated, so what's the next item?
Nobody else has any questions either. We'll move on to the next one. 101, reference number 181. This was asked for Councillor Sicoli and Councillor Hunt. So Councillor Hunt, you have the floor. This is Audible pedestrian signal program. Reference number 181.
Yes, so through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, this historically, I spent 5 years as chair of the Accessibility Advisory Committee. So annually, we would come up with a list. Now, this is to include not just the audible pedestrian crossings, but compliant curb cuts, ramps for 80 new and existing locations over a 7-year period. So this budget, this budget number is for 3 years. So I'm assuming that we're 4 years in. So my question is, how many have been done of the 80? And do we have the exact locations for 2023?
Through the chair, I don't have the exact locations. I just know that by the end of 2025, we'll have those 80 complete. That will actually include all 150 signalized intersections across the city.
Okay, that's good news. Thank you.
Mayor Davis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you, I just remembered what I wanted to ask on 107. That's Deluzzi Street and George Street. That's the crosswalk. Well, is that to have install those red flashing lights? Is that the idea? Or is that to install like signal lights, like a stop light for pedestrians?
Yeah, through the chair, it wouldn't be a PXO, it would actually be an IPS, which is basically a pedestrian crossing. It would be a full set of lights.
Yeah, because it's already there, so it's lighting it up so that it's even more visible. Is that the idea? Because the signs are there, I think the paintings are there, the road paintings.
No, through the chair, what we're actually going to be doing is adding an actual IPS. So it's a full signalized intersection. And what we would actually do is probably remove all those signs and pavement markers. Those are just temporary until we're able to get this passed through council.
Okay, just so I understand fully. So will a pedestrian push a button and gets a red light stopping traffic? Or will it be a push a button and it's the flashing red and it's a crosswalk right away?
Yeah, so through the chair, it would be an actual, you would push the button and then it would go from green to yellow to red. And then everyone would be able to cross the road.
Yeah, good. Okay. So I'm going up to back to the one we're supposed to be on, which is 111, the Audible Pedestrian Signal Program. And I remember being out in the Shellard Lane area, the intersection around Shellard and Flanders. And I can recall 1 or 2 families there expressing concern about, I don't think there's an audible pedestrian signal at that intersection. Is that one of the ones that's going to be included?
Through the chair, if it hasn't been completed yet, it would be part of this.
All right, can you confirm that for me, please? Because I gave a promise I'd follow up on it, so.
Through the chair, what I can do is I can email you after.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Hunt.
Just through you to staff, Mark, would it be possible to get a list of the 2023 Audible crossings that are going to be installed this year?
Through the chair, yes, that's possible. I can email you that as well.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay, seeing no further, we'll move on to item 113, reference 183, Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just the staff, will this complete all the LED lights when this is done, or? Well, you've got them projected all the way to 2029, so I take it it's not. And if not, could you give us the area where they are going to be installed?
Through the chair, so the intention with this project would be over the next 7 years would be to complete all the LED upgrades across the entire city.
Okay, can you give us the a list of the upgrades for where they're going for 2023 and 2024? Thank you.
Through the chair, if you can give me 1 second.
Oh, you can send it afterwards, that's fine.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you.
I have a question. This is an item that a delegation suggested we speed this program up. Has that been looked at as to whether there's capacity to do this program quicker?
Through the chair, it would be possible. I think the fastest we could do it is probably 3 to 4 years. We'd have to add money into the capital budgets over the next 3 years.
If there's capacity, I think that's a good idea because it does result in savings to the city. Indy?
To you, Mr. Chair. So we'll circulate the memo that we provided after Mr. Beach did his presentation that spoke to exactly that. What are the capabilities of doing it and what are the restrictions? So we can send that back to council and recirculate that so you can see that.
Okay, so that is something you're working on.
We've already provided that memo, so we'll just circulate again so that council has it prior to next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Item 116, reference number 186, Mayor Davis.
Pass.
Anybody else on 116? Seeing none. 119, Councillor McCurry, sidewalk condition assessment, 189.
The proverbial sidewalk inspectors. So over the course of 10 years, we'll spend $500,000 discovering what sidewalks need to be replaced. But that $500,000 that could be replacing sidewalks simply is telling us something that I think we can probably figure out between staff and members of council. Would anyone know approximately what the cost of a sidewalk panel is? A couple $100?
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary, I'm sorry, was that the cost of one panel of sidewalk?
Yeah, remove and replace a panel of sidewalk. Do we know what kind of money that is?
I could calculate that out. I'm trying to think of a volume.
Perhaps you could.
How much?
Perhaps you could just let us know.
$500 to $600, depending on the size of the panel, the depth.
Yeah.
There's different depths for commercial walk as opposed to residential walk.
$50,000 a year would replace a fair bit of sidewalk if we weren't studying what sidewalk needed to be replaced. I wonder if why don't we give some thought to how we can do that internally? Councillors come across sections of sidewalk and, blocks of sidewalk that are sometimes bad, and staff generally make those decisions themselves about what needs replacing on a year by year basis. And I'm just wondering if we can dispense with this whole program and make these decisions internally and put more money actually into concrete.
So through the chair, Councillor McCreary. So this is a provincial requirement through our minimum maintenance standard that we walk every inch of our sidewalks. And this is to hire somebody to actually do this. So $50,000 for 2 people to walk the sidewalks much cheaper than the 250,000 that we would need for staff and benefits and et cetera to do this work. So actually it does come out as cheaper and required by the provincial governments to do this legislatively.
If you don't tell them we're not doing it and I don't tell them we're not doing it, who would be any the wiser? You know, it's these provincial mandates are driving us to the poorhouse, right? You know, we have to root through people's garbage to see who's throwing out a gum wrapper into the stream of garbage when it should be recycled. We have to get EAs on 2-lane roads that we're making into 4-lane roads. The amount of money these people cost us is extreme. Is there a method that we can use to tell the provincial government to butt out? That was mostly rhetorical.
Yeah, I don't think a staff member can answer that question.
As I said,
sir, if
no.
I can.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna.
Perhaps the CEO can ponder that
I was just
question.
going to add that at the start of the presentation that Councillor McCreary I provided, there are other regulations coming down that is going to add to our operating budget that you will see coming down from the province as well.
Okay, Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you. So this $50,000, when you said that we have to walk every bit of the sidewalk, is that annually we got to walk every bit of the sidewalk?
Yes, through the chair.
Okay. Now, during an election year, you have 20 or 30 people walking every bit of that sidewalk. Is there any ability we can use that during the election year to actually point out where the sidewalk concerns are?
Through chair, if they can provide a report to us, no. We prefer our professionals to do that and identify it based on the provincial requirements.
Yeah, and we didn't do it this time. We used to provide you with extra funding just before an election year for sidewalks for that purposes when people were, they get a lot of complaints from constituents when they're knocking on doors, and gives you an opportunity to go and check that sidewalk out as it's been reported. I guess we didn't do it this time, but maybe we'll do it next time. So I guess that $50,000 is something that the government requires us. So we just hire someone to walk the sidewalks, and when you say they're professional, how are they professional?
Well, they're trained to look for those trips and the lips that are there and measure them, spray them. So it isn't a full training program for what they're looking for.
Okay, so we could actually train people that like to walk anyways to do that, I guess. The other thing I would say is the sidewalks. Would we look at? We just went through a whole list of lawsuits. Would we look at our lawsuits that we've had for trip hazards and sidewalks? Do they become a priority?
Through chair, I can't speak to that in terms of I wasn't privy to that in terms of the locations, et cetera. But if a resident has an issue with a sidewalk, I would just request them to put their complaints through the customer contact center, and we'll have a look at that and assess the sidewalk.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Hunt.
So through you, Mr. Chair, to Indy, is there a mechanism for if we identify an issue with a sidewalk that perhaps is not being identified by these sidewalk walkers that we're hiring? Now you mentioned putting it through a customer service. I will tell you that I spent a couple of weeks on the sidewalks in Ward 4. Back in October, and from someone that uses a power wheelchair, I'll tell you the only person that got rich out of that experience was my chiropractor. So, I mean, I could give you a list today of 15 areas of sidewalks that need to be addressed. So I guess the question is, do we have a mechanism to pass that information on to these sidewalk inspectors?
So through the chair, it's always best that you go through the customer contact center so that it creates a work order so that staff can go out and inspect. Typically, unfortunately, depending on what time of the year the inspectors go out, things can change depending on the weather. If you look at, for example, the big windstorm that we had back in May 24 weekend, tore up a whole slew of sidewalks. So we had to go back and trim trees and fix those sidewalks. So anything basically with a discontinuity of about 2 centimeters or higher, those are the ones that we do have to actually assess and work on in slicing. So there will be bumps, there will be other types of things, but anytime that you do notice something, it is definitely, I would encourage you to go through the customer contact center so that we have a record of it.
Okay, and just following up on that, so the sidewalk inspector is only looking down at the concrete, not, I went through several areas where there were large bushes and other materials that were actually blocking barrier-free access to the sidewalk. So is that something that they're looking at, or they're literally just looking down at the concrete?
Through the chair, they are supposed to be looking at the sidewalk, but it's very possible that they do notify us and add extra notes when it comes to those areas. Again, you know, it just depends on what type of the year. In the fall, when the leaves of the bushes or the plants and everything have died off, they might not see it.
All right, thank you, Mark.
Mayor Davis.
Yeah, I'll give you the perspective of a former personal injury litigator. One of the first questions you ask a municipality is, do you do an annual inspection? If they don't, as a lawyer, you know, just hit the jackpot. So there's some very good reasons why the province has these standards, and it has a lot to do with liability. And if you as a municipality are not complying with the provincial standards, you're open game. And you'll be paying a lot more than $50,000, believe me, in claims over the course of the year. So this is astute property management to have annual inspection of the sidewalks. Smart, safe municipalities do this to minimize their liability situation and protect their residents from claims, but also just to get a handle on what's happening with your sidewalks and making sure they're in a reasonable state of repair. So I think it's money well spent.
Okay, seeing no further on this. Item 122, reference 192, Brantford Lift Paratransit Vehicle Replacement. Councillor Hunt.
And through you, Mr. Chair, I'm hoping Mr. Spicer is still hanging in there somewhere.
With bells on, Councillor, with bells on.
Okay, so a couple of questions. This is replacing vehicles. So we're talking $2.6 million. So are we going to be able to increase the size of the paratransit fleet? Or is this strictly replacement of vehicles that have reached the end of their lifespan?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is to accelerate the potential to electrify the entire Brantford Lift fleet. We have applied for some grants, which would pay up to 50%. And part of the grant is that you must have that in your capital budget. So that's why we've identified it in this capital budget to hopefully be successful with obtaining some grants and then obtaining and then I guess expediting our ability to change over our fleet from current diesel to electric.
So when we change over the fleet from diesel to electric, are we decommissioning the diesel vehicles, or is there an appetite to have a hybrid, some electric, some diesel, just so that we can increase the capacity of the service by having more vehicles on the road, quite frankly?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I absolutely, we can take that under advisement. And we are, as I mentioned earlier, we are looking at the current capacity on our lift vehicles. With the optimization study, we will be looking at other opportunities to be able to make our conventional system more accessible to our lift clients. And so we're kind of looking at the hybrid of both, but absolutely, we wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, let's park those vehicles if in fact we absolutely needed them and our community needed it.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Mike, how many vehicles will this 2.6 million purchase?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do believe that it is 6 vehicles.
Okay, and they're all electric? Is that the idea with this?
That is the plan, yes.
And do they have enough range that they'll work for a full shift without having to stop for charging?
And that will be part of the due diligence that we do once we obtain the funding, and then we go out to the vendors and see what is available. I can tell you right now in the specialized, we're very limited to the resources currently. There's a number of prototypes out there that the vendors are proving. And again, battery range is one of them. But I'm confident that by the time we get around to procuring them, we'll have enough information to make a very valid and informed decision.
Okay, yeah, ranges are increasing all the time on electric vehicles. The second time, Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and sorry, I meant to ask this the first time around. How many specialized vehicles do we have in our fleet right now?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do believe it is 17.
Which has not increased in probably, 10 years since the city took over. So we're still running with the same 17 on the road that we were running with. Not
Through you, Mr. Chair. So 17 are not on the road at the same time. We have spare ratios for those that require repair and when we need to do inspections. But I believe that you're correct in the history that we've not increased our specialized fleet.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the need for the service is certainly increased, which leaves us in a service deficit position.
And if I may, through you, Mr. Chair, just again, going back to the importance of this optimization study, part of what we're trying to do is make our conventional fleets very accessible, easy to ride for all of our community, including our disabled population, our senior population, the youth. So I do think that a main focus of what we will be looking at through this study is the ease of access, the ease of use, the safety of use, and allow people more opportunities. And especially with some of the restrictions that we have in our specialized, allowing people spontaneous actions to be able to go out and visit the community is something that we would really like our conventional transit to be able to stand for. So I think, a combination of both and allowing our customers the option of when lift is not available, that they can rely on our conventional service to attend their appointments or attend their family venues or whatever it is that they'd like to do in our community.
Okay, understanding though that the transit optimization survey will not look at the infrastructure. So we just talked about sidewalks, access to the bus stop for someone with a disability to be able to access a conventional vehicle.
Through you, Mr. Chair, part of the service standards that we will be creating will lend into the optimization study, which will look at what curb cuts are around, what sidewalks are available on a transit route, and how do we not strand people or put them in a position where they don't have safe access to and from a bus stop.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Okay, seeing nothing further brings us to item 124, reference page 194, solid waste, composition waste audits and data collection. Councillor McCurry.
Mr. Chair, I already gave my rants about rooting through people's garbage, so I'm good.
Mayor Davis, I have you on the list for this one as well. Do you have any questions? Not just his video's off, he's gone. Okay. Brings us to 126. Yeah, okay. Wastewater treatment plant boiler replacement. Phase 2 of the landfill gas project was going to be utilizing the waste heat from the generators to do the job of the boilers at the wastewater treatment plant. Would it make sense to do half of the phase 2 and utilize the waste heat instead of buying new boilers?
So he's trying to get on.
Sorry, Councillor.
No problem.
Chair, it was just the computer was taking a little bit of time. To the chair, the boilers right now, we need those 3 boilers to maintain our operations, and we did wait in like a few years ago, waiting for the project to materialize. But at this time, TSSA did the inspection and said we need to upgrade them to meet the TSSA standards. So that's the reason we are proceeding, and we need the 3 boilers to continue our operations.
Would you still need all 3 if you brought the waste heat from the generation?
Given the uncertainty, Councillor, you are aware of it. So we do not know how much of heat we'll get and how much heat we'll get in the winter time. So it is difficult to say, but given that this is an immediate need, we need to move forward to meet the TSSA and ESA requirements.
Okay, because when the generators were put in, it was roughed in for capturing the heat from the exhaust as well if additional heat was required. So there should be more than enough heat there from even just running one generator to supply the heat needed for the wastewater treatment plant. And that's been operating for for a decade now. You should have good numbers on how much heat is available from that.
Through you, Chair, we've asked recently our consultant who was working on the digester gas project to evaluate that, and they said that there wouldn't be enough. Again, we need more data and more analysis, but they felt that there wouldn't be enough heat continuously. There may be maintenance issues, there may be interruptions, and also in the winter time, there would be heat loss coming through the piping system to the wastewater plant. So again, this is without the heat, heating the digesters, we cannot operate the wastewater plant. So, and because these are 1950s and deteriorating, and to operate it, we need to meet the TSSA standards. And that's the reason we're moving forward with this project. I understand where you're coming from.
Okay. Item 131, reference 201, wastewater, Canesville, wastewater monitor and sampling station. Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, I knew this day would come where because of that glorious boundary adjustment that we did that I wasn't allowed to participate in because the county didn't want me there at the time. But we got an agreement that allows the county to hook in. So as the county is obviously requested to hook in, and that's why we're doing this.
Through the chair to the councillor, they are going through an environmental assessment study, and their plan, according to the study, is to do the design in 23 and construction in 24 to hook up to the city.
So they'd be hooked up to the city for, they haven't asked for water then, this is just wastewater.
They did mention they need both the water and wastewater, but at this time, the study covered wastewater. So that's why we're looking at wastewater at this time.
So this would service Burford to the west and Canesville to the east. Is that the concept here?
Through the chair to the councillor, this is what we're talking about. This project is mainly for Canesville. We haven't received any information on Burford yet. So this project is mainly the wastewater coming from the Canesville area to the city.
And our treatment plant will be able to handle the flows. In fact, there should be some revenue generation out of this as well, because they'll be paying the same sewage rate as everybody else in the city.
Through the chair, yes, that's correct, Councillor.
So will it require some kind of metering system? Because we right now pay our wastewater fee based upon our water meters. So if they don't have water, is their ability to measure the flow for wastewater?
Through the chair to the councillor, yes, there needs to be a meter, and we've also informed them that they need to meet our sewer use bylaw. And you are aware the city is very careful on what kind of wastewater or things are discharged into the sewer system. So we're very careful on monitoring, and the county was made aware of those.
All right, thank you, Sylvia, for your very informed response. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Councillor McCurry.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I'm very surprised to learn that the county at some point in the past was able to select city members to sit on committees. And I wonder, I realize it's a bit extraneous to tonight's proceeding, but I wonder if I might prevail upon the clerks to provide us with a memo about how those committee assignments were made and whether county representatives were able to vote on who sat on the city side of the negotiating committee. Thank you.
Just to be clear, the county did not vote. The council of the day voted. That's how it works.
Okay. Getting back to the Canesville wastewater monitor. Is Canesville not on City of Brantford water now? I thought we supplied water to their water tower.
To the chair, you're correct, Councillor. We do supply water to Canesville area. The agreement does talk about their growth and the city to supply water to the growth area in Canesville, and also supply or provide capacity or treat the wastewater.
Okay, and once this is metered, will it be one bill to the county, or will it be bills to individual property owners?
To the chair will be one bill to the county.
And that's up to them to pay for that however they choose.
That's correct.
Okay, I see this as a good news story because they've been using a lagoon system in Canesville that gets flooded every spring, which is detrimental to the Grand River for sure. And especially to Six Nations as they're just downstream from it. Okay, seeing nothing further on that one. The next one was Mayor Davis. 138 reference 208. Did anyone else have questions on that? Environmental services, security, access control improvements. Seeing none takes us to the last one, water main replacement, 148. Reference page 218, Councillor Carpenter, Beverly Road Street to Chatham Street, Coburn to Chatham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a replacement of the water main. So this is a complete road, will be a complete road reconstruction if we're replacing the water mains and just replacing the sewers or just the water mains here?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Carpenter, this is just the water main and the road.
Okay, so it will be, we won't do half a road. We'll complete the road with proper pavement.
That is correct, Councillor Carpenter. We no longer do that practice.
Thank goodness. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Okay, that takes us through the individual items. Do members wish to make any motions to add to the proposed 2023 capital budget as presented? Councillor McCurry, I understand you have a motion.
I understand I have two, but I'm not possessed of it on my screen. I wonder if somebody might put it up, as my memory could not produce it verbatim, Mr. Chair. Yes, here we go. And I'd be looking for a seconder from Councillor Sless, that a project to undertake the environmental assessment for Power Line Road widening east of Paris Road to the East City boundary be added to the capital funding from the following. Number one, DC Reserve Fund, $2,075,000, roads and related reserve, $425,000. And Mr. Chair, this will allow us to do the environmental assessment, which is largely an expensive exercise in telling the world that we'll have more cars in that corridor as we widen it at some point in time. It will also allow us to be able to consider the long-awaited and eagerly anticipated Powerline Road Trail, as well as, and I know some people in the community will, those except for Irene Sluss, of course, will be pleased to see that we're going to be doing some roundabouts in the Powerline Road corridor. And my apologies to your wife, Councillor. Oh, you seconded it too. Yeah. Yeah. So I hope everybody would be on board with this. We want to get this underway. It's this year that we'll be getting to that, right, Indy?
The chair, that's correct. We'll write the RFP and get that out.
Yeah, and that will allow us to get on with the work in short order. So thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to the clerk for putting that up so I could read it.
Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, I just want to be, I don't have the resolution in front of me again, but does this cover the full of the entirety of Powerline Road in the city boundaries?
Through the chair, Council Carpenter, so it covers from just east of Paris Road to the east limits of the city. The Paris Road intersection to the west is already covered by another EA.
Yeah, but it will cover the right to the east city boundaries of past Brentwood Park.
That's right to Carrick, I believe.
Okay, thank you. To Carrick, yeah, which is a street that's not a street. Yeah, we can look at that later. Thank you.
Seeing nothing further on this, we'll call the question. Assuming our system will work. Not on mine.
Can you refresh? Just pull down. There we go.
Yeah. I vote that. Okay, I'm a yes too.
Councilor Martin, did you put in?
I put in. Yes.
Sorry, and Councillor Hunt, sorry, we are having issues with the system. Councillor Hunt, if you could just verbalize your vote.
I voted in favor and it did actually show up on my iPad, so it's just not coming through to you.
It's just not coming through. Yeah, we're going to investigate that. Thank you. The addition to the capital budget carried unanimously on a recorded vote. Those in favor, Councillor Sullivan, Caputo, Sless, Martin, McCreary, Hunt, Carpenter, and Samwell.
Councillor McCurry, you said you had a second resolution?
Not for tonight, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Chair. Question just to staff through you. Are we doing the sound barrier for Colborne Street this year? Is that part of this year's capital budget? I didn't notice it in particular.
To the chair, that was captured in a budget previous year, but we are looking at that construction. I believe may already be underway, Jen. The design's underway, but I know the community wanted us to extend. So we're just meeting with the community to see how far we need to do that, and then what the noise levels would be for us to extend that project. But it's already approved and already in our budget to complete that work.
Okay, I know you were going to have Dave look into doing a study with regards to the right-hand turning lane off of Colborne Street west onto Oak Hill. Did we get any information on that as of yet?
So through the chair, we can give you an update email on that to see where we're at. Yeah, but it's not done yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Caputo.
Thank you, Chair. Through the staff, I didn't notice on the budget today or the capital, was it last year that the Paris Bridge was put on, or have we even come to that? Or if I can get any kind of status as to what's happening with that now that the construction on St. Paul has been complete. Thank you.
Through the chair to you, Councillor Caputo. It was previously approved funding. for the Ava Road Bridge there where Paris and Ava connect, or Paris and Branav connect, my apologies. We are just finishing through design on that to get the tender ready.
So does that mean it's going to be done this year or are we looking at 2024?
There will be a report forthcoming on that bridge. The anticipation is to begin construction this year.
Thank you.
Okay, if nothing further. Can we get a update on the capital budget total, please?
Yes, through Mr. Chair, the revised total with the 3 amendments made this evening is $102,802,042.
Thank you. Now, we have a meeting scheduled for Monday. The only item for Monday's meeting will be a 10-year capital plan report. It's been suggested that that could be sent to the Finance Committee instead, which would mean we'd be finished tonight. Unless anyone objects, I would need a resolution to Councilor McCurry.
Anything further with respect to changes to the capital budget could come in February, could it?
Not if we vote on it tonight.
Through the chair, ratification of this will come January 31st to council.
Okay,
Opportunities for adjustments at that time.
so that night. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Councilor Carpenter.
Yes, so when would the rest of the council have an opportunity to comment on the 10-year capital budget? I.e., we need to comment because we haven't seen Banbury Road on the capital budget, so we have to raise those kinds of things. So when will we, as those councilors that don't sit on the Finance Committee, have a ability to comment on the 10-year capital budget?
Well, if it's referred to finance, it'll come from finance to council as as part of the finance report, which would allow all members of council to see it and comment on it.
Well, then I would like to make sure that when it goes to finance, if we go that way, that it actually it's a copy to members of council that aren't on finance as well, so we can refer our comments to finance.
Okay. So can I have a referral to send the 10-year capital to finance? Moved by Councilor McCurry, seconded by Councilor Sullivan. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? We good. And opposed? I think that carried 7-1.
Sorry, Councilor Hunt.
One abstention.
Councilor Hunt?
Oh, sorry, that one did not come through.
No, sorry, we're just doing it by hand.
By show of hands, yes, I'm in favor of referring that to.
Okay, with that, we can now vote on the capital budget as amended. Any further comments before we call the vote? Do you want to try it with e-scribe? No. Okay, show of hands. All in favor? Opposed? I'm not sure. Was that opposed, Councilor Carpenter?
No, we're not using e-scribe anymore. We just decided to ban it.
We've given up on it for tonight, and we did a show of hands.
Okay.
It was unanimous within the council. We need the votes of the two online.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so,
Councilor Hunt?
yes, so I'd be in favor of that as well.
Carried unanimously then. With that, we're done. Thank you, everyone.